Oh, where's Slim? Slim, where are you at?
Yep.
Hey, you weren't there when I first jumped in.
I was off stage.
Okay.
I was off stage so you could see the screen, the background of the book, the cricket book.
Oh, it
While I
didn't
was
show
waiting.
it to me.
Oh, okay, I think I had you on the. I'll put you backstage and so you see it.
All right, hold on, I gotta grab a light bulb. My light bulb blew out just a minute ago. Crap. Do I have any more light bulbs? Okay. Oh, okay. I mean, I can just see little tiny pieces of it.
Well, that's because we're up here now. See, I'll take us both off. That's why I was backstage. What up? Froze for a minute. What's going on? What's up, Deborah? What's
Real
up,
quick.
Cranky?
Give me some more light so I can see to read.
Right. What's up, oh, well, Deborah might not be there. This for my 11 o'clock this morning. Cranky left a message about 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes
Already
ago.
having friggin' issues.
Says she's got a book.
Oh, she got the book. Nice.
Well, she don't have it. So she should
Oh,
have
there's
it by
hot under
Thursday.
that. I can swear I put a bookmark in here.
I guess she ordered it. She says she should have it by Thursday.
Okay. Shoot, I hope you bookmarked where we were at.
Yeah, I do. I got it. Page 8. Yeah, we just started. I went over to page 8 because the paragraph I was reading on page 7 carried over to page 8.
Okay.
And that's where we stopped.
I thought I bookmarked it, but I guess I did not.
Page 8. And talked to Dopper. He's already read all of chapter 1 and some of chapter 2, he said. In case he
Dang.
ain't here at the beginning. He said if he is here, he don't mind reading it again, but he went ahead and read ahead. Well, I don't know if he got an ebook, so I don't know if you read ahead or you listen ahead. I don't know how those work. Can you read it or do you just listen to those?
Ebook? I'm not real sure. I think you read them.
Well, I mean, there are some read them, and I know there's Audible.
Or
I
maybe
guess
you can
there's
do.
two different ones. Yeah. What's up, Cranky? Cranky said, hey guys, I was in the kitchen.
Hey, Crank. Crank.
So what did you get, Cranky? Did you get the hardback book? Ebook you just read, okay. Ebook you read. So I guess the audio book is what I'm thinking makes sense. The audio book's the one you would listen to.
Right, I wonder if they cost the same.
I don't know. I think Treats said, I don't know if he got the ebook or the audio. I think he got the ebook. He said he signed up to Amazon's thing, so he got a couple of free books for just doing the free trial, and he's going to cancel that whenever it comes around. But he got a couple free choices.
Oh, good idea.
But no, I think this was these were like 25. I think the ebook was Hell Cranky just got one. She probably knows. I think they were closer to 10. Oh no, she didn't tell me
Oh,
whether
nice.
she got an ebook or not. She just told me ebook you read. I don't know what she got an ebook or not. But I want to say they're only like $10 or maybe pens.
10's not bad.
Paper costs,
Got a
I know a
paperback.
couple of
There's a couple of hands around here that
pens.
want to read it. They'll read my hardcover.
I got you. So how much were the not getting too no? How much were like the ebooks and stuff? I didn't pay any of that mine. Paperback was probably a little bit cheaper too, I would imagine.
$14. That's not bad.
It's 14 on thing. Want to come up here with us, Cranky? So you ain't got to type. I need to get you to get an
I kind of like
email
paperback
me.
because like you can I like the paperback because you can kind of fold kind of the handle. But I guess you can fold this one back too.
Well, oh, like that all the way around. But yeah, I don't know how you might end up doing that too much. You might start to rip that away from there though, especially if
I'm
you want just like
afraid
early,
to
early.
sign on it.
Just, all right, hold on. Put the link in the chat
I
right
started
quick, and
drawing in
we'll
it.
move it.
I
Oh,
started a
did
little
you?
drawing
All
near
right.
the cover.
We're like out of one. Cool. When you draw a guitar, I mean a drum set.
Draw a drum set?
That's why didn't
Not
you
a bad
draw a
idea
drum set?
because I can't draw drum sets.
Ah, let's some circles.
I'd have to
Do
practice
some
on the
circles.
practice page first.
I was trying to do a. I'll bring it up right here. It's hard to do. I was so shaky because I was having to do the video on my. I was playing a video on my computer and trying to record it on my phone so I could upload it on here. I was going to play a little bit of it. Maybe some night, not now, but I mean, like some nights to start. So
I'll
remastered.
play that YYZ.
I guess. Huh?
Play that YYZ, that drum solo.
No, this is like a. I guess there is a Ghost Rider song. This is
Oh,
remastered.
okay.
Yeah, I was recording it off my phone, off the computer, so it ain't fucking crappy. But
Okay.
yeah, I was trying to talk to that for like to start to show out with some of that though. I guess next time what I'll do is I'll find it
Oh
over. I
yeah,
can
so
just
that's
present
the
it on my.
pictures in it, right? Look like.
Yeah. Uh huh. Yep. That one, that top one looks like that top one's where he's not sitting on the bike, right? Well, he's not sitting on the bike and none of them. Yeah, it's one I think what I was just watching was like that top picture. Or is the one of those? It goes to a lot of different pictures. It shows something towards the end. It's called something Poker something Alaska. It was like the furthest northest part of the United States. It goes Cranky on the stage. What up,
Okay.
Cranky?
Hey, Gracie,
I,
you
I
forgot
I
something.
I found an AI app and I put me on a bike
Right on.
to go with the theme.
What? Oh, there you go.
I'm like, well, it kind of looks like me, I guess.
All right. What is that? Just one of those
One of those
what
AI
picture?
apps.
Oh, AI apps. I got you.
Yeah. And I went, okay, me on a bike. We're going on tour, right?
Yeah, we're going on tour. I
All
forgot
right,
some of your
good.
suggestions when I made the thumbnail
Oh, no,
about
it's
the
okay.
uh, touring whatever. But I'll do the next one. Yeah, touring, touring the Healing Road Tuesdays or touring with Neil Pritt. Y'all know this book's 18 freaking chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Man, got a lot
But
of
are
good
the
ones.
chapters really long? How many pages in a chapter usually?
They were varying what I looked at from 11 to 12 to 20.
Oh,
I tested them a while ago. I can read a page in a couple of minutes, though.
yeah. We might be able to
I
get
got to
through
turn
a
some more.
chapter and a half or 2 chapters in one evening. Who knows?
Yeah, because what you said, what you figured it out, because I said we did a chapter a week, that'd be 6 months. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about all
Mm-hmm.
that. We might speed it up or do a couple of nights or something. We'll see what happens tonight. I don't know how long we read on it the other night. When we,
I
I
think
didn't time. I didn't
so
time
many
it.
people seem to be interested in it that maybe we could do it on a weekend night. Seems like a lot of people are really interested in it.
yeah, I got some more light on.
Pardon me, I'm eating. I'm gonna mute my mic.
What
That's
you
all I
eating?
got. I see right now. I need to get me a little light that I can like clip on my laptop.
Yeah, I
These
was thinking
fucking
the same
mosquitoes.
thing earlier because my light bulb went out. I'm like, come on, I got to read tonight. What's going on? I
Oh,
thought
they
about a
got
little
some
book
little
light.
ones. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They got some of those that kind of hook on the. I don't know how they hook on. They hook on there somehow or another. But yeah,
I got this little thing here. Hold on, let me get off of Avatar real quick. I got this little thing here that's I got it at like a yard sale for $1. It goes around your neck, and these lights come on here.
yeah, I got use them for working
Those
on
are
vehicles
good.
and shit too.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a good
kind of cool.
on cars and stuff too. They put
And
the
like you
light right
can,
there.
you can adjust them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a
What's up,
good
fishing
buy.
people?
Yeah, I know for $1. Like heck yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's good enough. I mean, I can see here good. It's a little bit of a shadow, but we stopped on page 8. We'll see
Oh, we
this
got a
chapter in.
what up already.
Oh well, you
Oh
didn't
yeah,
what up
fishing
for us.
people, fishing pole. Oh, but fishing pole just came in with a. He's got a bunch of
Oh,
what ups.
fishing. What
What up?
up?
What up? What up?
What up?
What
What up?
up?
What up? What up?
Yeah. So what was it? Remember that? What was that? Was it a Budweiser or a Bud Light commercial? You remember that? Didn't they do something like that? They answered the phone. What up? So this
Oh
chapter
yeah.
we're over halfway. This chapter ends at 17, and we're on page 8.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get a
We're
chapter and a
about
half,
halfway.
maybe
We're
2 if we
halfway
can.
through it almost.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Just what's up, Paul?
Oh,
You here to read with us, Paul? Oh, I mean, who we got watching? I mean, at some point in time we'll have to start. I reckon. We give it a few more minutes if anybody pops up other than what's
how many
here.
people's on?
So there's 2 watching, and then the 3 of us. It's Paul and fishing people's probably 2 watching, and then we don't count for the head count up here. So 5 counting us 3. Topper will probably be on a little bit. He'll be here, but he'll probably be a little bit closer to 10, or
Hey
maybe
Paul.
sooner. We'll see. He's got the book too. Cranky Dopper. I don't know if you heard me. He told me he got the ebook too, and he already read chapter 1 and part of chapter 2.
Oh good, good. So
Fishing
he's
people
Said he
wants
went
to.
ahead and read ahead because he's late. If he's late, and
mm-hmm.
then that way he says if he gets, he'll just read again if he's early. But he went ahead and read forward in case he's late. So
Now
help
you're
see,
not
I
starting
believe.
from the beginning again, are you?
No, I'm on page
Okay.
8 where we left off. We
Okay.
was finishing up page 7. Paragraph carried over to page 8, so we're like the second paragraph, page 8. I think is where we shall begin. Shall we just start reading the damn thing? I don't know. I
Think
never did a
so.
book club, so you know what I'm doing here. The other night it was easy because I done been on live 3 hours and about drunk. And I was like, well, fuck it, let's read the son of a bitch now. Now I've got like half a beer in me. I'm about nervous. But feel like I'm in front of the classroom
Let
about to read.
let
And I hated
let's
that in
sell it.
school when they make you read.
Oh, I know. Let's
What?
solitaire start. Let's solitaire start it off then.
Let's
Well, I
start
mean,
the
I
first
started off.
paragraph.
I was just kind of it don't really matter, but
Oh,
I was just kind of
Okay.
joking about how I'm just like fucking
I'll start the
the other
first
night. I was
nervous
paragraph.
wreck.
like, oh yeah, let's read this. Now
Y'all
I'm
want to start
fucking
it now, or
stage fright. Yeah, that's
but
what I say. There's
first,
3 people watching. I
Fishing
mean,
Poe wants you to say what up again, though. Hey,
oh,
Bobo.
what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up?
Bobo
That's
came
all
in
right,
to say
Bubba.
hello. He doesn't have the book. He's
Hi,
doing the night
Bobo. I
swimming
don't
one.
have the book either.
She's got one order. You can listen in though. We'll be doing whatever, talking and listening and talking and reading. Listen in with us,
All right, let's get
young
this
man.
started here. Okay, so I'm going to read this first paragraph, Slim. It's a real short one. Then you got a nice long one after
All right.
that. Okay. Okay, so I think we all remember where we left off, right? This paragraph will
Yeah.
kind of remind everybody. So during those first awful weeks in Toronto, our friends and family filled the house of mourning day and night, trying to distract us and help us deal with the unbearable reality as best they could. But Jackie remained inconsolable, pining and withering visibly into a fragile, suffering wrath. One time she shook her head and looked up at me. Don't be hurt, but I always knew this was the one thing I just couldn't handle. Damn, starting right out from the gate.
Right. She wouldn't let me comfort her and didn't want anything to do with, with me, really. It was as though she knew she needed me, but her tortured heart had no place in it for me or anybody. If she couldn't have Selena, she no longer wanted anything. She just wanted to die. She had to be coaxed into eating anything at all and talked of suicide constantly. I had to keep a close watch on her sedatives and sleeping pills and make sure she was never left alone. When she did surrender to a drug sleep, she held a framed picture of Selena in her arms. Oh, you want me to keep going?
Okay, guys, I'm having trouble with my internet. So you finished that, Slim? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. After a couple of weeks, I took Jackie away to London, England, accompanied by our friends Brad and Rita. I had known Brad since childhood, and in the early 70s, he and I shared a flat in London where he had met Rita, a refugee from Iran, and brought her back to Canada. Brad and Rita had known great tragedy in their own lives, so they were a good choice to help Jackie and me begin our exile. After they went home, other friends came to stay with us for a week or two at a time, and eventually we moved into a small flat near Hyde Park, where we stayed for 6 months. We started seeing a grief counselor. Well, good for them. Dr. Deborah, several times a week at the traumatic stress clinic, which seemed to help a little and at least got us outside occasionally. It was hard for me to try to force Jackie even to take a walk, for she was tortured by everything she saw, by advertisements for back to school clothes, children playing in the park, young girls on horseback taking riding lessons, pretty young women in the full pride of youth. These same triggers stabbed me too, of course, and I also felt bleak and morose and often tearful. But it seemed I was already building a wall against things which were too painful for me to deal with, wearing mental blinkers when I was outside in the busy streets of London. I would just flinch and turn away from such associations. But Jackie remained raw and vulnerable, unable to protect herself from the horror of memory.
Okay. One quick thing, Solitaire. I noticed what you did there, and I was reading some of this earlier just to see how quick it would take to read a little bit of a paragraph. And I thought the same thing. Like that shit in parentheses. I shouldn't read that, should I?
Well, I
I know
well,
how you
I
skip.
didn't. I didn't in this case because the only thing it said was Selena. But I think if it's like a
Okay.
sentence or more, I think you probably should read it. It gives a little bit of
Okay.
extra
That was
detail
kind of
to
bringing a
it.
little bit more into it. But
Yeah,
that really didn't, I see what you're saying, that really didn't need
right.
that
It was just
extra.
like young girls on
We
horseback
knew that's,
riding, taking riding lessons. Selena, pretty young women in the full pride of youth. Selena.
yeah, we kind of knew that. All right, let's go.
Yeah. So the one coming up for you
In
here
the,
is a pretty long one, so I would read it.
yeah, that's what I was getting at because I've seen it. And it actually brings a little content to it, actually,
Yeah.
also. In the effort to keep her eating nutritiously, I even learned to cook simple meals in our little kitchenette. And this is what parentheses. Thanks to Food Hall in the Marks and Spencer store on Oxford Street, which offered cooking instructions with every item, even fresh fish and vegetables. You know, calling myself Chef Elwood after my unfortunate middle name, but none of it was enough as I tried to look after Jackie in every way I could, only even leaving her alone for a fast afternoon walk and around the park or through the London streets, which the pill which the pills locked up in the safe, or to buy the day's groceries. It was like witnessing a suicide brought on by total uh, apathy. She just
Yeah.
didn't care.
Wow. Wow. The following January, we were finally thinking about returning from London to try to find some kind of life back in Canada. Jackie began to suffer from severe back pain and nocturnal coughing. Uh-oh. She refused to let me get a doctor, saying they'll just say it's stress. But Dr. Deborah finally prevailed on me to make an executive decision and get a doctor anyway. On the eve of our departure, Jackie was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The doctors called it cancer, but of course it was a broken heart. And a second nightmare began. Oh boy.
Jackie's brother Stephen met us in Toronto and soon took over the household, controlling the number of visitors, who he called them the gatekeeper. And surprisingly, Jackie's care as I felt myself slipping into a kind of protective insanity, a numb refugee of alcohol and drugs. I'll read another one. That's real short. Jackie,
Jackie, how?
however, received.
Oh my God.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say I'll read
No.
another one because that one was so short. But go ahead, since you started.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll just keep it. Okay. Jackie, however, because this is short too. Jackie, however, received the news almost gratefully, as though this was the only acceptable fate for her. Wow. The only price she could pay. After months of misery, despair, and anger, often directed at me as the handiest object, she never uttered a harsh word after that diagnosis, and rarely even cried. To her, the illness was a terrible kind of justice. To me, however, it was simply terrible and unbearable.
Turn the page. After 2 months of desperation, desperation in Toronto, I pulled myself together and we fulfilled Jackie's wish to go to Barbados. 2 years previously, we had enjoyed a memorable family vacation in that pleasant island nation, and it is often uh, sufficient medical services to allow us to continue providing home care for Jackie. Even when she began to decline sharply, needing oxygen most of the time, slipping away both mentally and physically until series of strokes brought a relative merciful end.
Jeez. Exhausted and desolated, I flew back to Toronto, saying they're just long enough to organize the house and put it on the market with more help from family and friends. Then got away to the house on the lake, still not knowing what I was going to do. Before she died, Jackie had given me a clue saying, "Oh, you'll just go traveling on your motorcycle." But at that time, I couldn't even imagine doing that. But as the long, empty days and nights of the dark summer slowly passed, it began to seem like the only thing to do.
I didn't really have a reason to carry on. I had no interest in life, work, or the world beyond, But unlike Jackie, who had surely willed her death, I seemed to be armored with some kind of survival instinct, some inner reflex that held to the conviction that something will come up. Because of some strength or flaw of character, I never seemed to question why I should have survived, but only how, though that was certainly a big enough question to deal with at the time.
I remember thinking, how does anyone survive something like this? And if they do, what kind of person comes out at the other end? I didn't know. But throughout the dark time of grief, sorrow, desolation, and complete despair, something in me seemed determined to carry on. Something would come up.
Or maybe it was more like a Mormon woman's statement: the only reason I'm alive is because I could not die.
Wow. In any case, I was now setting out on my motorcycle to try to figure out what kind of person I was going to be and what kind of world I was going to live in. Throughout that first day on the road, as I traced the rain slick highway north across the rocky face of Quebec, my shaky resolve would be tested a few times. Tense and shivering, peering through the turbulent wash of spray behind the lumber truck for a chance to pass, more than once I thought about packing it in. Who needs this? I'm really not even having fun. And I don't think I'm strong enough to deal with this right now. Why not turn around and go back to the house by the lake and hide just a little bit longer?
But no, that too would be a perilous road. When I allowed myself to consider turning back, the thought that kept me riding on was then what? For over a month, I had tried living there alone, and occasional visits from friends to help ask me out of myself, and I had still felt myself beginning to slip into a deep, dark hole, vigorously, simultaneously, and depressants of various stimulants and depressants could help me get through the days and nights. But I had recently written to a friend, that's okay for a temporary escape hatch, but it's not no kind of life.
I had tried the hermit mode. Now it was time to try the gypsy mode. I tried not to think of what I would do if that didn't work.
Traveling has always been more or less normal conditions for me, not only as a necessary environment for a touring musician for the past 23 years with Rush, but also a kind of escape
Yeah.
from all that. Between concert tours, I had traveled the roads of China, Africa, Europe, and North America, at first by bicycle and later by motorcycle. And that kind of self containment journeying had fired my imagination with curiosity and challenge.
Page 11, before he even mentions what band he played in. Okay. From the beginning, I kept daily journals during my travels, and when I returned home, I used them to exercise my interest in and prose writing. I'm not sure what that is. Experimenting with different approaches to telling the story of a journey. My interest in writing had begun with composing lyrics for the band and had grown from a taste for writing letters into a serious love of stringing words together on the page. As I continued to develop the craft through my travel stories, I would print up a few copies of them for friends and fellow travelers until after learning my way through about 5 privately printed books. Wow, okay. I finally felt ready to publish one in 1996, The Masked Rider and Cycling in West Africa. Oh, about cycling in West
About
Africa.
lately, though, I hadn't been doing much writing of any kind except for a few letters to distant friends. But during our stay in London in the turn the page, grief counselor, Dr. Deborah had encouraged me to start a daily journal of letters to Selena,
Oh,
and that had proved to be good therapy on this 10th beginning in a new kind of travel, purposely yet aimless. I doubted I would feel I doubt I would feel the urge to document what I saw and felt, or any ambition to make this sad journey into a book. But just in case, I had brought one of my little black notebooks with me, and the first day I made an experimental entry. And then saw this is the
okay.
entry. Solitaire is about to read the entry he made into his journal.
Okay. In
August
August
20th,
20th,
1998.
1998. Ache, cold and wet. Lunch in Cadillac. Hugh, heavy rain, last few hours, surprisingly heavy traffic. Trucks roaring in spray plume. Scenery, dark, wet, gloomy, like me. Much logged face of Canadian shield, occasional lake flooded or drained. Mines and factories up around here. These are names of something. Valdor and Noranda, barley, 10 degrees Celsius, 50 Fahrenheit. This AM, not much more now. So just, I guess he's just taking like quick notes, right?
Yeah, just in like a journal or diary or journal, I guess journal diary type deal. Yeah. Okay. Now back to as I crossed into Ontario, the rain let up at last, but the day remained chilly, and I finally sought refuge in the Northern Lights Motel in Co- Cochrane, 850 kilometers, 531 miles from plenty for that kind of day. Pouring, pouring a measure of the Malacone, uh, Malacone from my little flask into a plastic cup. I felt its warmth inside as I hung my wet riding gear around the room.
Okay, I'm going to read this next chapter, Slim, and then I'm going to go work on my profile picture. Fish and Poe is saying that I only have that little person. Like, I guess he can't see the creek. Can you see the creek
Oh
in
no,
my
I just figured you
avatar?
know that. No, you're like the no, you're just a plain white rapper.
Okay,
Generic. Yeah.
okay. Thanks, fishing people, for telling me that. I'll work on that. Some wrong with the little
See my
person.
distance.
um, okay, so until I get back, I'll read the next one, and you can read till I get back, if that's all right. Okay. In
Yeah,
the
yeah. Go
shower,
ahead.
I thought about
Oh, you missed one. Hold up, back up.
Coach Train.
We didn't read. We didn't read underneath the thing. As I
Huh?
crossed into. Oh, I
You just
did. Did
read
I
that.
read that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. My bad. My bad. My bad.
In the
We're
shower, I
experts at
thought
this.
about Coach Cochrane,
You said
Cochrane,
Coach Rand. I
Cochrane,
ain't.
isolated at the northern edge of Ontario's grid. And ghosts came out of the memory of a concert the band had played there back in the mid 70s. After driving all night from Winnipeg, we played our set to a spattering of applause. And I'm glad I get to read this. And at the end, we left the stage, figuring that was that. However, when we got to the dressing room, the prompter, a squat and hairy French Canadian, descriptively named Hunk, came running in, distressed we hadn't played an encore. He said the agent had promised him that we would. Okay, so keep reading until
All
I
right.
fix this app. Okay.
All right. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. What's up, Project D? Let me know if you want to jump up. I'll drop the link. I had it dropped, but I took it back out. They won't people just keep grabbing it. He pro he protested that an encore was usually a request from another song from the audience, and there had been no response that night to indicate any such desire. Hunt became more distraught, saying in his thick accent, "I never thought Rush would do this to me." The three of us at each other shrugged and went back on stage. The audience was waiting quietly. We played another song and everyone went home. No one seemed excited, but everyone seemed satisfied. We knew that everyone in the town knew how much we were getting paid. probably $1,000, and that the agent was promised hunt and encore. After the after the gear was packed up and loaded into the truck, 7 of us from the band and crew piled into a rented station wagon and drove all night back to Toronto. You good, Jet? You want me to go on? Oh, back to Toronto. Coach
Keep going.
ran, Hunk, Ghost. I'll read another. All that seemed so far away and long ago, part of another life. Even after my first terrible loss, I felt no urge to work with the band anymore. In the days of Selena's funeral, I had told my partners in Rush, Getty and Alex, all of us in tears, that they should consider me retired. I hadn't worried about whether or not I could afford not to work again. It was simply unthinkable. After 23 years together, Getty and Alex were loyal and caring friends. My sequence of nightmares, and they were, of course, nothing but supportive and understanding of whatever I wanted to do. Now that I was trying to carry the weight of yet another unbearable tragedy, I had even less reason to care about the future, or even if I had a future.
Okay,
Gina's
that
in
took me
here.
a
So
while.
what's
Sorry
up?
about that.
Also,
Hey, okay. Or even if I had a future, certainly I had no interest in playing the drums or writing lyrics for rock songs. Before that night, when my world crashed down around me, I had been working on a book about my motorcycle adventures with my friend Brutus and the just finished Rush tour Test for Echo. And now I couldn't imagine taking up that project again.
the night in the coach ran, I took refuge in my journey notes once more, and I sat in the Northern Lights dining room after my friend uh, pickled. Usually the tasteless of a freshwater fish, but not this specimen. The only other diners were a pair of retired couples, and I heard them marveling to discuss that they hailed from two Ontario towns, Brantford and Petersburg, and they were all of a 2 hour drive apart. One of the ladies was even moved to remark it was a small world. Turn the page.
One of the men also tried to be sociable to the solitaire diner and leaned toward me to say, "You're being awful quiet over there."
Oh, that was it. Hold on. Startled, startled, a dozen possible replies zipped through my answer index. All of them true, but some of them real conservative enders. In the end, I
Comical.
gave yes, and in the end, I gave a shy chuckle, nodded towards my dinner, and said, "Oh, I'm okay."
Then I wrote in my journal, Perils of Solitude, #1. People talk to you. I'd rather listen.
This morning, I continued and went across Ontario on the road from dawn until late afternoon, pausing only for fuel, an occasional pause at the roadside for a stretch and a cigarette. Just keep moving, afraid to stop for too long, afraid to give myself time to think. Riding a motorcycle which totally with total concentration, devoting infinite attention to even ever changing road and other traffic that was significant to keep most of my little brain busy.
My mind was also lulled into tranquility by the motion, the trance like effect of steady vibration, occasional bumps and curves, and the world coming at me mile after mile, hour after hour.
Hour after hour. Early that summer, contemplating the wreckage of my life, I had determined that my mission now was to protect a certain, uh, what is that? In
Essence,
certain what?
essence.
Essence inside me, a sputtering life force, a murdering spirit. As I thought, I held my cupped hand around a glittering candle. In letters, I had begun calling that redundant spark, my little baby soul, and the task before me now. I decided what was to nurture the spirit as well as I could.
My little
That was
baby soul
cranky.
was not happy, was not a happy infant, of course, with much to complain about, but as every parent learns, a restless baby often calms down if you take it for a ride. I had learned my squalling spirit could be soothed the same way, by motion, and so I had decided to set off on this journey into the unknown, take my little baby soul for a ride.
Okay, okay. When I had arrived in Quebec from Toronto, after everything else was gone, I didn't have much interest in the world around me. I didn't like anything, didn't care about anything. I didn't want to do anything. The first hint of possible upturn came one afternoon when I was sitting on the dock with a glass of that Malacan, some kind of drink. I don't know what it is.
Let's see,
In one hand,
Macall, Mc- McCollin.
That Macallan in one hand and a cigarette in the other.
Go ahead. That's still part of the same paragraph.
Okay. Way down at the far end of the shining lake, near one of the islands, my eyes fastened on two wedge shaped rocks sticking out of the water. Those two rocks had always reminded me of a pair of ducks facing each other, and somehow the day of my little baby's soul decided to em- embalm, I can't read that shit. Embalm
Imbue.
them
No, I've never heard of the word.
with meaning. A voice spoke inside of my head. You know, I still like those two rocks.
Hmm. My soul decided to imbue. I've never heard of that word. Okay. My eyebrows lifted at the realization I actually liked something. And thus, from the pair of rocks, I began to build a new world. It would have to be a world my little baby soul could stand to live in, and a world that included the possibility of all that had happened. So it was going to be very different from the world I had lived in before. However, I was starting with first principles, the earth, and now I was traveling westward. And now that I was traveling westward, I began to respond to the landscape around me too. The rugged cliffs and the forest around Lake Nipigon
Now,
and the
Nip
north
gun, yeah.
shore of Lake Superior. Okay.
If it wasn't exactly finding joy in the scenic splendor the way I used to, I was at least resonating again, feeling the beauty around me and curious about what the next line on the map might look like.
But as I rode toward the line on the maps, excuse me, got but as I rode toward the line on the maps, my serenity, my thoughts, and my internal music were suddenly interrupted by the ugliest of sounds. Even though, oh, even through earplugs, helmet, and wind noise, there was no mistaking the loud electronic whooping and bleeding, and my eyes darted to the rearview mirror, which was filled with the insistent flash of, oh, of red and blue lights behind the
Mm-mm,
grill of a provincial police cruiser. Cruising, I pulled to the side of the road and straddled the bike. The officer walked up beside me, held out his hand, and said, "May I have your radar detector, please?" Oh,
frustrated, I protested, but it's supposed to be and undetectable. He shook his head. They should have been. They
Wait,
shouldn't
hold
be
on. This is the next
allowed to get
paragraph.
away.
Hold on. Oh, no, go ahead.
They, sh- they
Go ahead.
shouldn't be allowed to get in the way with saying that. Someone should go after them. I knew it was an undetectable one because it gave off a weird signal.
Damn, the worst. As he looked over my Ontario driver's license, I saw his head give a little jerk upward, then move in closer. He peered into my helmet, smiling now.
You're a musician.
You a
I
musician?
mean, I mean, you're a musician. Oh, that was on you. I mentally rifled through the answer index again, looking for a truthful invasion. Not an easy task when you're answering a man with a uniform and a gun. Eventually, I mumbled, not anymore. He paused a moment, looking over my insurance and registration. You used to be a musician, though. Years ago. He said he went on
Hold on.
talking about some place in Toronto where he
You
used
just
to live. What happened?
no. Go ahead. You've already read like 4 paragraphs, but that's okay.
Oh, I
Go
didn't
on.
see where they changed. My bad. I'll go back. Pick it up where I was at because I got to move this phone anyway. That was just making all that noise. You know where it's at.
Okay. He went on talking about someplace in Toronto where he used to live that was apparently close by something that was supposed to be meaningful to the person he thought I was. But I was still thinking of alternatives from the answer index. I used to be a lot of things.
Yeah, some of these, boy, they're confusing me where they're changing. It's like the
Well,
changes in these paragraphs are looking
anytime
different.
anytime it's moved over, anytime it's moved over, like okay, so where it says I eventually mumbled,
Yeah, I know.
not anymore. The next line, the next
I
line
know.
is a paragraph. Then the next line is a paragraph, and see how it's
Yeah, I
indented
understand.
in?
Yeah, that's what threw me off because those were like one line paragraphs that threw me off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay.
Okay, where are we at now? Where are we?
So I just said
I
I
used to
used
be a
to be a
lot of
lot of
things.
things.
Okay. Lately, I had written to one of my friends. I don't know who I am. What am I doing or what am I supposed to do? Time would tell. I could only hope, and in time was supposed to be a great healer. Then, best thing could do was try to let it pass and painlessly and possibly try to minimize the self-destructive urges and stay away from the house or the lake for a while.
Let time pass. Take my little baby soul for a ride.
The policeman finished writing out my ticket and I went on riding.
All right, chapter 2. So, so
And
the
there's a
police
little,
officer looked at
you
it.
want to read?
The police officer, the police officer looked at his ID and was like, "Oh, Neil Peart."
Yeah. Hey, there's a little, I'm going to go grab a beer right quick. There's a little, you want to read that little, I guess that's a little, just a saying or something at the bottom there? Like a quote or something?
So the name of the chapter is Westering. Westering. So I guess Westering would mean heading west, maybe. What a fool I
I
used
got
to
to get his
be
phone away.
by Presto,
I got
1990.
his phone with me.
All
Yeah, I
right,
guess
are we
that's
going
what
to
it
move
is.
into chapter
But
2
anyway,
or?
I got to get a beer. And like I said, at the end of chapter 1, there's a little quote or something at the bottom. I'll read it. The road unwinds towards me. What was there is gone. The road unwinds before me, and I go riding on. It's my turn to drive. Driven, 1996. I think this looks like quotes from people or something. But yeah, let's go on. I got to get a beer.
All right, let's catch up on some of these comments. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, Cranky's down in the chat. Baywatch
Cranky's
return.
back.
Okay.
Doctor's there. Cranky's back on the stage.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, Slim, do you have that
Yeah.
cancellation thing on StreamYard? I hear a bit of an echo. Do you have that cancellation
Echo.
thing on?
It should be on. Let me see. I got echo cancellations on. Yeah.
You have
You
the
can reduce
stereo
background
off,
noise.
right?
Yeah, I got the stereo off. Now, just a
Okay.
second
All
ago,
right,
you heard
so
a
we
lot
got Crazy Hillbilly up in the chats. We got Gina up in the chats.
of.
Dang, and it just all disappeared on me. Hold on.
Oh, cool. Look at
Paul's up in
Darpa.
the
He's with the
chats.
theme, too. Look at him and his bike.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get a motorcycle
Hold
avatar.
on, let me read these
Oh, let
here
me
real
tell
quick. Gina
you.
says,
Okay, go
sorry
ahead.
I'm late. I checked out this book on Amazon. It sounds really good. Crazy Hillbilly said, what's up, y'all? Bobo said, it's a great book to read or listen to while having some pizza. Yeah, pizza sounds good. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Dave's in the chat. Dave from Boston. Good evening, everyone. Good to see all y'all. Hey, Dave. Um, Project said, give me a few minutes. I'll be on. I guess that was a few minutes ago.
Yeah, right on.
Bobo said, Baywatch at
Okay,
times. I do go on panels here and elsewhere. Paul's got his little eyes looking around. Frankie, are you still
you come
here
on the
or
panel.
having more raviolis?
Oh, damn, there's a lot of comments went by as I was reading.
I said that quite different than Bobo. Frankie said, hey, everyone, I don't have another device available to me to type down here. Nice to meet you, Paul. Okay, I think we're pretty much caught up. Gina said, I missed a lot of the show, so maybe you talked about this, but what made you choose this book?
Well, I've read it before years ago, Gina, and it's about Rush, and I both love the band Rush, and it's about the drummer for Rush. I don't know how up to date you're on, but he's lost his daughter going off to college, got in a wreck. His wife died almost a year later, and he goes on a 14-month, 55,000-mile motorcycle trip from Ontario down the west coast of Canada, west coast of the United States, into Mexico to Belize, and then all the way back home in 14 months.
Hey, DARPA, do
And
you
got
have your
that,
book?
and I got.
I sure do.
Nice.
Hi, Darpa.
Hey, Cranky.
I like your bike.
Thank you. That's a 19 sitting. I'm just joking.
Like
Right.
mine?
Cranky's got a book ordered. It's supposed to be here Thursday, she said. Or not here, but
Yep.
there. It's good. She got a paperback version.
I got the paperback.
Yeah. All right, y'all want to go a little bit more into chapter 2? It's a long ass book.
So tell me if y'all agree. The title of chapter 2 is called Westering. Would y'all think that means heading west?
I would think so.
Like
Nearing the west.
Yeah.
what's west?
Yeah,
All
like
right.
Yeah.
westward bound.
So, Darby, you want to read any? Or yeah, westward bound. Yeah, kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I'm western because he's
All
leaving
right,
from there and
chapter
headed
2.
towards the west coast of Canada. Yeah, Gina said it makes sense. But yeah,
Oh,
because
we
he's
want me to
leaving
read a
from there,
paragraph?
headed towards the. If you want
So,
to.
anytime I travel west, I'm going to say I'm westering.
Okay.
Okay, that's
I'm already west, so I'll be eastering. I'm going to go north
Yeah,
next month, so I'll be northering. Right?
northern. There you go.
yeah. I want to be
There you go.
southering. So the
Get
chapter
north this
2 goes from page 17 to page 40, guys.
What's it called when you're
and there's a
headed
little
towards
quote.
Mars?
When you're heading where?
Towards Mars.
Mars.
Marsering?
Marsering.
Out space.
Marshing.
Margarine.
It's also
Moonering.
moonering. There you go.
Out spacing.
And there's another
Outer
little
outer
quote under that.
spacing.
I guess these are little quotes from people. What a fool I used to be. Presto, 1990. don't know what all those. I guess those are just little quotes or something. Anyway, y'all want to start this chapter 2? I'll start it. Let's go. Let's western. Give me a
All
light
right.
for next time so I can see. I got a shadow on this book. Probably ain't good to read in half-ass in the dark. I'll cut up my computer screen. Might help. Oh, it's bright as it goes. It's a little bit brighter. Okay, western. Chapter 2. Before dawn had reached Thunder Bay and the northern shore of Lake Superior, I was carrying my bags and helmet out of the hotel parking lot. I paused beside the bike, watched a spectacular display of aurora and I don't know what it
Aurora
borealis,
Borealis.
shimmering veils of
Like the
greenish
Northern
light
Lights.
draped across the northern sky. Seeing off through the forests of northwestern Ontario, the lonely road cast its hypnotic, soothing effect over my mood. The steady uh, drowning of the engine was the constant wind noise, the cool, forest-scented air, and my visual reflection on the road ahead occupied most of my senses, while my mind wandered above its monitoring functions into the fields of memory.
Oh, I like that.
And
I like that paragraph.
I think that's a new one starting on the next page, page 18.
The ghost of Christmas past carried me back to a snowy December afternoon in 1993, a few days before Christmas. Selena and Jackie and I lived most of the year in Toronto, but we usually spent our summers and holidays at the house by the lake in Quebec. And for our tight little family, Christmas was a special time. It was a special time there. Darpa, would you like to read any?
Yeah, absolutely. Just give me a
Take
second
the
because
next paragraph. Oh,
the page keeps every time I try to scroll, it skips over an entire page. So I'm just trying to figure out some of the bugs here. Damn digital books.
right. Yeah, digital. We're on page 18, second paragraph. Don't know if that helps you.
It unfortunately does not. The road occupied. Oh, the ghost. Okay, the ghost of, and there it goes. Hey, you just gotta skip me until I figure this out.
Okay, we work on it through
Okay,
that
all
because
right.
that's paragraph actually.
All right.
And
The
on the next
snow,
one.
Slim.
Yep. The snow had been heavy that winter, already lying into feet deep in the woods and over the frozen lake. The house was carefully decorated, indoors and out. The lights strung into the snow covered trees. The living room dominated by the tall, glittering Christmas tree. Selena was 15 then and covered a large table with her annual table line of Christmas Town. An array of porcelain houses and snowy cotton hills, miniature trees with tiny colorful lights, a toy train puffing real smoke as it circled through the house, and even little figures skating magically on a mirrored pond. Christmas Town was a different every year, but even into Selena's late teens, it was an expression of her love for the rituals of Christmas.
Oh. She was always so excited to arrive from Toronto and start decorating the fireplace blazing as we played the Christmas CDs by Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, and the Harlem Boys Choir, and a special favorite, A
That's it.
Charlie Brown Christmas. That year, the house was filled with live music too. Our guests were Jackie's mother, her sister Deb, and her partner Mark, a musician and recording engineer. And we had made up a little orchestra of Selena on flute and acoustic guitar, Mark on acoustic guitar, and me attempting to play the marimba, a wooden keyed percussion instrument on which I was only a dabbler. And the easier, more familiar timekeeping with wire brushes on snare drum and hi-hat.
All right, I got it.
All right.
That afternoon, we were rehearsing our repertoire of 5 or 6 Christmas songs, preparing to give a private concert for Jackie, Deb, and Grandma on Christmas Eve. I was struggling over a difficult marimba.
But,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was.
but yeah,
That's what. Yeah.
Part while Selena complained that I was a loser, her usual style of endearment for those that she loved. When I heard the rumble of an engine in the driveway and the door slamming, Jackie called to me from the kitchen, "Neil, it's for you," but I was preoccupied with trying to get my mallets to hit the right keys on the marimba, and just grumbled, "How do you know?"
yeah, that
We
must
need to
be
find out what a
some kind.
marimba is.
I'm assuming some
Someone
sort of
put it in
instrument.
the chat. I'm gonna
Like
put it
a
in the chat right
xylophone,
quick.
maybe?
A deep
Yeah.
toned xylophone of African origin.
Oh, yeah, I put it in the chat. See if
Oh,
anybody
cool.
would.
The lovely thing about digital books is it has a dictionary built in.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So
great.
you're right. You tell
Nice.
us what.
We're gonna get some good use out of that. I'm telling you right
Absolutely.
now. Because there was something I was wondering back here. It was a word I've never heard before. Hold on. Let's see if I can find it just real fast. Okay, it's IMBUE. Imbue.
Imbued.
I've never heard that word.
I've heard the word, I just don't know the definition.
I am what? I
It
am
said
what?
those two rocks had always reminded me of a pair of ducks facing each other. And somehow that day, my little baby soul decided to imbue them with meaning.
Where was that at? I remember
I
reading that.
It was page 15. I don't know if that helps you on the ebook.
Yeah, I don't have the actual page
I
numbers.
am what?
IMBUE.
Imbued.
Never heard that word in my
I'm
life.
trying to put it in chat. Yeah. See if anybody knows what that means. I just put it in chat. I think it shit's going slow. Anyway, I'll start this other. See, I went, Solitaire went, and then Doctor. So we got to order so back on me and then Solitaire. What a fool I used to be. The truest words I ever wrote, and then get truer every day. Well, that was quick. That
With
was a
an
quick one.
important sigh, I walked over to the front door and looked out to see the pickup truck driven by Jackie's brother Keith, who worked for us looking after the Quebec home, and perched in the back of it was a red BMW motorcycle. I immediately realized that it was a present to me from Jackie, for I had long claimed that I was going to try motorcycling when I grew up, and that my choice
Lost you. Yeah, I'm here. I lost Solitaire.
I don't know how this. Okay, yeah, that's how it works.
We lost you, Solitaire. I can't see it, so I don't. One thing I hate about avatars, you
Should
can't
I
tell.
just pick up or?
Yeah, I guess I don't even quite sure where she was at because I won't follow her.
My choice
line. I'm just
of
looking.
machine would be a BMW. Was where she left off. Mouth agape and still wearing my slippers, I ran into the snowy driveway and climbed into the truck bed, then up to the saddle of the beautiful red R1100 RS. I didn't know anything about motorcycles then, had never even ridden one, but I just sat on it and looked at the controls and instruments and closed my hands around the grips. A phrase came into my head, full blown, right out of a novel, and nothing was ever the same again.
She dropped back. She'll be back soon. During the rest of the winter of 1994, I was away working with Rush on our Counterparts tour. So all I could do was read the motorcycle magazines while I dreamed about riding the beautiful red beast In April 1st, attended a riding class of Toronto College and Rush Guitars Alex, who had been bitten by the bug himself that same winter and had brought a Harley Davidson. 'Cause I didn't realize we're back in time a little bit too, ain't we?
Yeah, I
I
think
just
it
now
went
realized
back.
that. Yeah, we're back in 90. We're back before the any tragedies hit. Here comes Solitaire back. Let's see what's up.
Hey, so
Uh,
how much
uh,
of that did y'all not hear? I guess y'all got the gist.
We got
Okay.
he top project picked it up. He knew where you was at. He read the rest of it.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay,
So
so
now, if you want to start over, you can go to issue. Yep.
a strange and ironic part of my physical mental interface was that although I had made my living playing drums for 20 years with hands and feet doing this and that and other things, more or less independently of one another, all my life I had trouble with physical coordination. Bullshit.
Hmm.
Sports, for example, at which I had always been very poor. I attempted to comfort this wounded self image by theorizing that while playing the drums, I had to divide my limbs in a kind of four-way independence, and thus it was more like disc coordination. But of course, that didn't really wash, for they all had to work together eventually. In any case, even on the small motorcycles provided by the riding school, I had difficulty coordinating the balance and clutch and throttle controls, and I struggled rather pathetically for the 3 days of the program.
Hmm. That's
Alex
just
was
on a
already.
short note with the drums. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, actually, I
Go
don't
ahead.
even know.
So
You started to read something
good.
different
Yeah,
from
that's
me.
fine. No, you're good.
No, you're
Alex
right.
was
It's
Oh,
already
Alex
like,
all right.
Alex
Alex
Lifeson, by the
was
way.
already licensed pilot by then and something of a natural athlete. So he aced the final test easily, but I failed on that first attempt. I felt humiliated and dismayed, and even more so when I failed on my second try during the next break in the tour. Before my third attempt, I finally engaged in an instructor for a private lesson, and he quickly helped me understand my difficulties and corrected them. How proud and happy and relieved I was when I finally passed that riding test.
it was another quality of my physical mental interface, and then actively it was it, in which I developed an interest, became a positive obsession. This had been true of playing the drums, reading every great book, even writing lyrics, writing prose, poise, cross country skiing, bicycling, and now motorcycling. Selena, Jackie, and I spent the whole summer of 1994 at the house on the lake, and several mornings a week got up before dawn and went riding for a couple of hours on the empty, winding roads of the Loretans, slowly gaining skill and confidence. It'd be nice to stay at the lake house
Uh,
all fucking summer.
Laurentins. Can you look
Yeah,
that up, Darwin? See
Laurenton's.
Yeah, that one
exactly.
says no Oxford dictionary found for that
Okie
word.
doke.
Oh, you see.
Okay. That summer, we had friends renting a college on a nearby lake. Jackie's best friend, Georgia, her husband, Brutus, and their son, Sam. At that time, Brutus and I were friends in the my wife's friend's husband sense. But when he saw me having so much fun with my new motorcycle, he went out and bought one of his own, a BMW K 1100 RS, that September. He joined me on my first sorry, that September, he joined me on my first motorcycle journey through Quebec, Newfoundland, and the Maritime provinces. We met up, that word always gets me, provinces. And we met up with Jackie in Georgia and Nova Scotia. They flew into Halifax and rented a car. Neither of them seemed to enjoy riding behind us on the motorcycles, at least further than the store for a newspaper. They said they didn't like being cramped, overdressed, uncomfortable, and cold. To follow us for a few days around the Cabot Trail on Cape Breton Island and back to Halifax. which they
Facts.
flew home, while Brutus and I rode back to Quebec. They, they said, hell with it, we're flying back.
Um,
I
lost
don't
my
even know what
spot.
order. Okay.
I don't know what
You
happened
on
to it.
Brutus and I discovered.
Okay, here we go. Brutus and I discovered two important things on that first trip together. We liked traveling by motorcycle, and we liked traveling together. He gave our two-man gang the name Scooter Trash, and we began to spin more dreams and plans for adventures together. In the spring of '95, we shipped our bikes to Mexico for the 3-week tour, where Brutus crashed and broke a couple of ribs.
Yikes.
Then later set his luggage cases on fire. Sounds
Wow.
like me. And in the early summer of that year, we squeezed into another adventure. We both had the time professionally for I was between tours and Brutus was self-employed entrepreneur. And someone's gonna have to take over from there.
Okay,
Oh,
just one more sentence.
because but there was and that's my paragraph. So I'll finish this one and start the next one. But there was some serious bargaining and bribery going on between us and our families. On a quick
That's
note,
awesome.
those
So they went down to Mexico for 3 weeks.
yeah.
That's
Now
pretty
this
cool. Because I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
not saying. Plus, you did. I just when you went off the screen a while ago, we realized we went back to 1994 too, right?
Yeah, where they were talking about Christmas, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. We're still in 1994 again when all this
Yeah.
the kid, the people
Yeah.
went dead and all that.
Right. So I'm kind of wondering
what.
So while we were reading that chapter where he became better friends with his wife's friend's husband, I kind of wondering a little bit what happened to him, like because like they weren't mentioned back when they were talking about grieving and all that. Okay. Anyways, that June we set off across Canada on a 2-week blast up the Yellowknife in Canada's Northwest Territories, where both of us fell over in the mud repeatedly, a story published as Catching Some Midnight Rays in Cycle Canada magazine, before rejoining our families for the summer in Quebec. My birthday present from Jackie that summer was a card reading, 7 Days of Freedom, and we took advantage of that and George's tacit resignation to ride east again to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. After another winter of work and family time, in the spring of 1996, we shipped the bikes across the Atlantic to Munich, where we began another 3-week tour through Bavaria and the Australian Alps. Wow, where Brutus crashed. Italy, Sicily, and Tunisia, thank you, where Brutus broke down in the middle of the Sahara, then back through Sardinia, France, and Switzerland.
I think Brutus needs to rethink this fucking trip.
They were serious about it. They would have their bikes shipped to other countries, and that's pretty awesome.
Cool. And I was going to say something on those bikes. I don't know, in '84, they're probably still nice, but they're new ones. Those, especially in 1984, them BMW bikes they're talking about, from what I remember back in the day, there's like some badass fucking bikes and probably were expensive.
Oh, hell yeah, they were expensive.
Yeah, those BMW bikes, they probably still make them, I guess. They were old, 94, but yeah, that was the cat's pajamas back then for damn sure.
And, with them being in Canada, Alex Lifeson had a Harley Davidson, a good old American-made Harley Davidson. Okay.
All right, where we at? I'll take one. But all that was just preparation for the really big tour.
Oh.
What was
Sorry,
that?
no.
Who were on?
No, it's your turn. Go ahead.
I'll start reading. They're just saying something. But all of that was, I'm in the right spot, right? Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
In Switzerland, yeah. But all of that was just preparation for the really big tour. During the summer 1996, plans were coming together for Rush's Test the Echo concert tour, which would eventually span 67 shows in the United States and Canada. I began to think about how I was going to endure yet another rock tour, which I had always perceived as a combination of cursing, tantrum
Bless you.
tantrums, constant exhaustion, and circus-like insanity, none of which suited my restless, independent, and private temperament.
I've always heard that about him, how he's just like kind of really, kind of like an introvert, really, and that he really didn't like touring and all of that. So that just kind of proves that. Okay. DARPA, you caught up?
Oh yeah, I'm caught up.
All
Want
right,
me to
go.
go?
Yeah.
Paradoxically, I enjoyed the preparation for a tour. For I liked rehearsing with the band with the shared intensity of working toward the perfect show, and the first few shows certainly got the adrenaline pumping when we hit the stage in front of 10 or 12,000 people in a big arena. However, by about the third show, we would get it right. The band and crew and audience locked together in a transcendent performance, and as far as I was concerned, that was it. If my job was to play a good show, then I had done it. Goal achieved, challenges met. Case dismissed. Can I go home now?
Right? Or
Nothing is ever that simple, of course, but it felt to me that for the rest of the tour, I would only be going up there night after night and trying to repeat that experience at best. Not to say that was simple either. When a particular show fell short of that standard, I felt deflated and disgusted with myself. While if I played well enough to meet that benchmark, it was only what I expected of myself. Nothing to get excited about while the people in the crowd are going freaking crazy. So for me, touring could be a long, relentless grind, exhausting and so destroying. And that only refers to the on-stage time. A small fraction of the chaos of traveling, waiting, and shifting from hotel to bus to arena to hotel for months on end.
for several tours, though, for several tours through the 80s and early 90s, I had carried a bicycle with me on the touring bus, which had provided a great escape and division. During the days off between shows, I might spend the whole day riding from city to city if they were within 100 miles of God dog. They were within
Wow.
100 miles or so. And on the afternoon before a show, I often pedaled through the various cities to local art museums to feed my growing interest in paintings, art history, and African carvings.
This time I was thinking about how the motorcycle would make it
Okay.
possible for me to cover some real distances. And I conceived a plan of using a tour bus with a trailer for the motorcycles and convinced Brutus, Brutus, to join me on the
Yeah.
tour as navigator, machine supervisor, and most importantly, riding companion. From the tour's opening show in Albany, New York, we made our own journey around the band's itinerary, eventually riding about 40,000 miles in nearly every state in the lower 48, excepting only North Dakota for some reason, which never seemed to cross our paths, and several Canadian provinces.
That's pretty cool. The main logo of that Test for Echo tour was taken from the cover art of the album, which portrayed a humanoid icon of piled stones, a gigantic version of an Inuit. Oh, y'all gonna have to help me out here. Inuit Inukshuk, Inukshuk, which means in the likeness of a man. My suggestion that we use this image had been inspired by
Sasquatch.
that long ride up to Yellowknife that previous year, when I had seen one of those mystical looking carrions of rock overlooking the remote northern town at the very edge of true wilderness. knowing that these stone figures traditionally marked travel and hunting routes across the barren Arctic. I had been struck by the power of this human symbol in a hostile land. Oh, I've got to check those out on Google Earth or something. Okay.
Now, just over a year after the final show of the Test for Echo tour, we played on Ottawa on July 4th, 1997. It was the dark summer of 1998, and everything had changed so very much, at least through my eyes. I was riding again, but I was riding alone, motivated partly by my desire to see if solitary, solitaire, solidarity, you know what I mean. Traveling might help to smooth the torment of my little baby soul, and partly because Brutus couldn't get away and was hoping to meet up with me somewhere later on.
Okay. I was wondering why Brutus wasn't going with him, so he couldn't get away. Okay.
On the first day of my journey westward from Quebec, I saw a small Inukshuk, I already forgot how to say it, placed at a roadside, high on a rocky cut, and then another the second day, and again on the third. Perhaps they had been assembled by another solitary traveler, a hitchhiking passing time until the next ride came along. A hitchhiker. A good omen, I like to think, although it gave me a wry smile to think about that definition, is the likeness of a man.
Huh. Can we look
For
up
that
that word?
was surely
Which word?
which word?
The Inukshuk.
Inukshuk.
Nook.
A structure of rough stone stacked in the form of a human figure, traditionally used by Inuit people as a landmark or a commemorative sign.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I've seen some pictures in one of his videos that I was watching today about this book where he's got like rocks stacked up like this in columns, and he got some stacked across, kind of shit like that. But
Okay.
just stack them all kinds of ways. So we're surely. So I'm at the Ghost of Summer, right?
No, for that was Shirley.
For that, okay. For that was surely how I felt, so hollow and dispirited that I could hardly imagine what I had been like to be the fool I used to be. Sometimes I tried to steer my mind away from memories of the past, but in other modes, they now seemed so remote, so unreal that I could dare to think about the past without breaking down.
Wow. The ghost of summer past took me back to the summer of 1996, probably the most productive time of my life. Test for Echo had just been released, and I considered it to be my masterpiece as a drummer, for I had worked hard on my playing during the 2 years prior to those sessions. That summer, I was settling the post production details of an instructional video on a work in progress, and at the same time correcting the proofs for my first published book, The Masked Writer. I had made an agreement with Jackie and Selena that I could work in my office until noon, then stop and spend the afternoons and evenings with them. Fair enough. Just 2 summers later, all that was ashes, and I felt little connection with any of those accomplishments.
My
My
current
current struggles,
struggles weren't. Hey, it's Joan. You go ahead.
my current
Get me
struggles
mixed
weren't
up. Go ahead.
about creating or producing or planning adventures, only about surviving. When I reflected on that old life, I tended to think of the protagonist as that guy, for I shared only his memories, and some of those memories I was now trying to hide from, escape from, ride away from. I could ride, but I couldn't hide.
Uh,
On the third morning, I crossed into man. Damn, it's stuck all these fucking words. I don't know.
I
I
know
see
these
towns and
Canadian
stuff.
friggin' words.
Manitoba.
Manitoba. The sound now I've heard that before. Now you should say it. I've never read it, but I've heard it. On the third morning, I crossed into the Manitoba and pulled off the Trans-Canadian, don't get that twisted, highway into rest area in a grove of evergreens, fir trees. I decided when I rolled the needles in my hand, woodsman's Laura. Firs, flat, spruce, spins. I don't know what the fuck that means. There's a diner that had been converted from an old school bus, them school buses again, and I brought a hot dog, milkshake, and fries, feeding my inner child, and I carried them to a picnic table in the shade. A hairy woodpecker probed for his own protein, not empty carbohydrates for him, in a nearby tree with a flock of cedar waxwings, pearl gray chested with natty markings, darted among the branches of the grove.
That's cool. I like how he describes that. Birds had attracted me since boyhood. Me too. Girlhood. When I used to trace the little illustrations from my grandmother's bird books and try to name the species I saw flittering around the suburbs and woodlands of southern Ontario. And it was a youthful enthusiasm that had actually grown into my adulthood. Even on this wretched journey, I traveled with a small pair of binoculars and a field guide, and I always had for whatever part of Africa, Europe, North America, or Mexico I was visiting. During our time in Barbados, while I was mostly confined to our rented villa and the lush gardens around it, I could sit with Jackie while she read, scanning the trees with my binoculars and eventually identifying 22 of Barbados' 24 native species.
Wow. All but two of them.
Back on the highway, the forest fell behind like a wall, and the roadside fanned open into a wide green prairie. The sun warmed the air, carrying the delicious scent of wet hay, and I watched the farmers at work with balers, I think,
Bellers,
combine
like Bell and
combines,
Combine.
windrowers. I don't know what the hell that one is.
One is.
I don't know, but it moved on me whenever I tried clicking on it, and now I'm out of place again. Really out of place. I have no idea where I'm at.
Okay, I'll finish it up real quick. And Discaros. Part of me envied the straightforward nature of their task, guiding their machines along geometric lines between earth and sky, but part of me envied everybody.
Yeah, I'm back on track.
Are you back on track?
Yeah.
You want me to take the next one in? Because that's the order who's going in solitary, you and me. If you want to just take this next one in soon.
Sure. Soon the empty skyline would be regularly punctuated by prairie skyscrapers. The tall grain elevators that sprouted like exclamation marks besides the train tracks in every prairie town. Once I was an example of the massive scale of modern farming. Once I saw an example of the massive scale of modern farming. Is that me echoing?
No, I don't think so.
I don't hear it.
Automobile-sized bales of hay in the size of apartment buildings, with wide lanes between them for flattened semis. I had so many childhood memories of the farms of relatives and my parents' friends, for they had only left the farm when I was a year or two old, when my father started his career in the farm equipment business. That too had filled part of my life, working summers and holidays at my father's International Harvester dealership, and then as his parts manager in my early 20s, right up until I joined Rush.
That evening, I called my mom and dad and talked. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Slim. I thought it was my turn.
You, Dopper. We kind of got switched up because we finished that one. But I'm not trying to keep it over. He's been going after you, and I might go after him just to keep it keep track better. And that evening, I called my mom and dad And just on a short note, I never thought we'd be quick to cut each other off to read a paragraph. Look at us, bookworms. Anyway, my turn. It's back in school. I couldn't you dare make me read a book. Anyway, let me go home.
That's what I
Get my
feel like
cat here.
when we're
Daddy,
like
Daddy,
students.
I call my mom. Yeah. That evening, I called my mom and dad and talked to my dad about what I had been seeing and remembering. He told me that when his dad and Uncle John were young, they used to come west to Manitoba from southern Ontario on the harvest trains, which gathered young men from the Far East as the Maritimes to help bring in the wheat, especially during wartime when the farm labor was scarce. He also told me how after the war, when the first self-propelled combine harvester appeared in the United States, the operation would work their way north from Texas to Manitoba, like crop spraying pilots or cattle drovers, following the harvest and hiring themselves out of their way.
Well, after
Yeah,
Winnipeg,
you
I
saw it
turned
there.
northwest on the Yellowhead Highway, just because I'd never gone west that way, and started to think about where to stop for the night. I left Thunder Bay that morning at 6 o'clock under the shimmering arc of the Northern Lights, as opposed to the Northern Lights in Cosh- Cochrane, then gained an hour as I crossed my first time zone. So when the bike's digital clock showed 4:30, I'd been on the road almost 12 hours and covered 947 kilometers, 590 miles. So it was time to start looking for a place to roost.
Well,
On the prairies, as in the desert, a clump of trees in the distance usually means a town, and I decided to stop at the next grove of trees in the horizon. Closer up, Nipawa, I guess, looked welcoming, and my motel room was a memorable time warp. The screen door squeaked open to reveal 3 double beds with buttoned
Naga hide.
naga hide headboards,
Monaga hide, yeah.
mahogany, mahogany panel
Mahogany,
walls
yes.
with a feed mill calendar and a religious sampler for God so loved the world. Uh, Sparkly tile ceiling and shag carpeting of an orange brown hue that used to be called whiskey, though it didn't match my plastic cup of the Macallan.
Macallan, I
Okay.
think Macallan's right. I've heard that, and when you said Macallan, some type
Yeah,
of drink.
yeah.
I think I've had it. All right, turn page. Okay. I guess Doppler will actually turn pages. It's the same as ours, but okay, we're on page 20. We're doing good. Hey, I think if we do good, we might can get through this chapter. Let's try. It'd be nice if we can get through
All
this
right.
chapter. Got about 10
Okay,
more,
we still got a
10
long
more
ways
pages.
to go. I took my drink outside. Sorry, is it my turn?
No,
I
it's
think so.
not. But,
Oh no, it's
Okay.
not.
oh, is
Okay.
it? No, I go after Doppler. It's good, but you want to? I got to be in that order. But I took my drink outside to. We'll get better at this. I hope. I took my
We
drink
will.
outside to the covered walkway. I tell you, it's been so long since I read like printed word like this. It's crazy. It's got to be good
I
I
haven't
don't
read
quality.
out
ever read
loud
out.
in years.
Right. I don't read out loud. I read, but not out loud.
Yeah, it's out loud. Yeah, it's true too. I took my drink outside to the covered walkway and watched the dark clouds looming in from the northwest, trailing ghostly uh, tren- tren- tendrils of rain, dust swirling beside the highway, whipped along by the wind and herald the coming storm. And soon the rain swept in, pouring so the roof, pounding on the roof and bouncing on the shiny pavement. distant thunder rumbled and lightning flashed off to the south. I stood and watched for a while, delighted, then put on my rain jacket and walked up to the road to Mr. Ribs. Ooh, Mr. Ribs restaurant. Oh yeah,
It
Mr.
sounds
Ribs
good, don't it?
restaurant.
That morning, I had written a hopeful title in the front of my journal, The Healing Road. And after a salad and a triple combo of ribs, um, souvlaki, and shrimp, I offered these reflections on that theme, thinking while I stuffed my face that I feel better tonight than I felt in more than a year. I've achieved immersion in the journey, which used to be necessarily limited state of mind. I'm butchering the hell out of this, especially when interrupted by work or the end of the journey. Neither applies at this point. 590 miles of healing today. Maybe, isn't it pretty to think so? 590 miles of healing. Maybe. Isn't it pretty to think so? Damn, go.
That closing line from the Hemingways, "The sun also rises," had acquired a fresh resource for me lately. Oh, I'm sorry. Reconnaissance?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Uh, the cautious ivory of, am I on the right? The way it flips pages on my end is confusing. In
Yeah, you're right.
the cautious irony of entertaining a wish without believing it is in its possibility. I did not really believe in a destination called healing, but at least I had begun to believe in the road, and that was enough to keep me riding westward. Throughout those days and nights, I wasn't always feeling better, as the process of grieving oscillated, even though each day from a little better to a little worse, from total ex- existential despair to those occasional rays of hope and interest, which was definitely a sparking of healing.
Nice.
The next morning carried me into another positive response to worldly beauty. As I left Nippewa, I can't believe the guy when he gets into the damn states at sunrise on a fine. And plus, he's gonna go down the coast, west coast of California, so Cranky can help name all them towns if we can't. Nepo, a sunrise on a fine prairie morning, cool and cloudy, the road still wet from the night's showers. The Yellowhead Highway mirrored gently with the contours of the land, then ran straight, the endless to the horizon. As I kept pace with a long train to the south, the sun peeked through the clouds behind the flared in behind me and flared in my mirrors, turning the shiny pavement to a gold ribbon between the rich green fields, my helmet filled with fresh, nostalgic scent of damp hay.
Nice. And
Oh,
sometimes there was
so
music
true.
playing in my helmet too, as my mental jukebox transformed the white noise of the wind passing into a soundtrack in richly detailed high fidelity. Sometimes the same song seemed to repeat all day long. Other times the playlist moved through different ones. The only distinction seemed to be that none of them were from the family soundtrack. For of course I tried to steer the day's selections toward the pop hits from my youth or Sinatra standards. Otherwise the choice seemed random, though sometimes triggered by the scenery, the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, the weather, here's that rainy day, and a road sign. By the time I get to Phoenix, or my mood, everything happens to me. When the writing became demanding, the music receded into the background. But when it's just me and the motorcycle on a pretty stretch of road, my brain would turn up the radio. Whew, I'm about finishing this chapter, guys.
So early on a Sunday morning, there was almost no traffic, and I cruised with my legs stretched in front of me, resting on the cylinders' heads. Occasional ponds and marshes were dotted with water birds, and near Yorkton, I saw my first magpie, a sure sign of the West. Should I read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, read the
Breakfast
little. That's a little. It's like a journal. And then I'll
Breakfast
never
at
read.
Russell's Inn. Nice looking motel and family restaurant. Wasn't thinking of stopping yet, but couldn't resist. Just after 8, done over 100 miles very pleasantly. What is that? Rheostatic. Well, we'll go with that. Rheostatic prairie music in head. Occasional sad thoughts, a few tears, but otherwise couldn't be better.
Nice.
I bet that R might be silent in that one here, but either way, it's good enough. But yeah, so those ones in between, I think you caught there earlier, Doc, but you probably seen them in your book. Those are like little. That's what he's filling in is when he's filling that journal in.
Yeah.
Anyway, but obviously, I hadn't lost my sense of irony or humor, and that was a good thing. For after covering a personal record of, I'm gonna leave the kilometers out, 735 miles to make it into Edmonton that day, I would be sorely tested the following day after having a leaky boot repaired, boot, getting an oil change, and at the BMW dealer, and replenishing my stock of the that drink, the Monaco.
Can we look that up?
Shit.
I want to know what that is. Is that like a whiskey or?
Yeah, search the web, Macallan. That is Scotland whiskey. Oh no, that's just a
Okay.
distiller. Incomparable single malt. Yeah, it's a Scotch whiskey.
Okay.
Oh, Scotch whiskey. I've heard the name, but never had to read it.
Right.
I made a late start. How about next time I get to it, I'll say another sip of my whiskey. I made a
Right.
late start out of the Edmonton, riding north now, making my way towards the Alaskan Highway. I don't know if that's a new paragraph, no, because there's a comma.
No, it's not.
I stopped. Yeah, I stopped at a rural gas station and pulled the bike back onto the center stand in front of the pump. In front of the pump. Period. While fiddled with getting my tank bag out of the way, the younger attendant handed me the nozzle and started filling the tank. I noticed that the fuel seemed kind of foamy, but didn't think too much about it until the boy came out again and said, "Your bike runs on diesel?" Oh, no.
Oh. I looked down at the nozzle handle and noticed it was green, which often, though not always, means diesel. And at the oily fuel foaming up from the filler neck, I shook my head in disbelief and said, "No." Then, through gritted teeth, "Do you have a siphon?"
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
It's kind of
we
like
drained the poisonous
paragraph.
diesel. What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
We drained the poisonous
I was
diesel.
talking about that
the
when there's one sentence.
Oh my God.
Paragraph, it throws it off because her paragraph is one sentence long.
Yeah, so
go
I just
ahead,
went
we
ahead
drained.
and I just went ahead and took it since it was just one sentence paragraph. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
We drained the poisonous diesel from the tank and refilled it with gasoline. But when I started the bike and tried to ride away, it died at the edge of the parking lot. On the good side of the balance sheet for this particular obstacle, the owner of the station, a stocky man whose features suggested a native heritage, was quietly efficient, and his country garage was well equipped with the tools we would employ to try to get the dead machine running again. I started by unloading all the luggage from the bike and pulling out my toolkit. Then we went to work.
Other customers stopped by in their high-wheeled, mud-splattered pickups, many of them with the same backwoods dress and native features, and often useful theories and suggestions. Oh yeah, I hate that shit. Siphon the tank out again, remove the spark plugs, clean them twice, remove the injectors, spray them, clean them twice, tie a rope around the forks, tow the bike behind a car like a water skier. While terrified rider tries to jump start it. Sounded like a good idea, right? Still, still the starter cranked uh, in,
Imp-
import,
impotently.
Impotently.
impo- impotently.
Huh. Okay. So this one is just like a real small paragraph and then a sentence and another sentence. Y'all want me to just do all three of them?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. As for the teenage boy who had caused all this, he stayed out of sight for a while, and I hoped his boss hadn't been too harsh with him. After all, it was his first day on the job, and something inside me could relate to his gangly, scrawny, pimply self-consciousness. Call it memory. I knew how I would have felt at that age, embarrassed, afraid, and ignorant. I felt the ghost of the fool I used to be.
But if I didn't get mad at the boy, I sure got angry at the situation, especially as the hours passed. By 4:30, I decided to call the BMW dealer back in Edmonton while they were still open to see about getting a truck sent out to pick up the dead bike. I described the problem to the mechanic and he agreed that we had tried all the right things, then suggested one last desperate remedy, though he warned to me, be careful.
At my request, the store owner produced a can of ether, starting fluid, and he sprayed it into the air intake while I cranked the tired starter one more time. A couple loud explosions had us ready to drive for cover, or had us ready to dive for cover. But suddenly the motor caught in the clouds and a thick white smoke, and it turned and the throttle wide, and and it turned the throttle wide to keep it going.
While I was frantically reloading the bike and putting on my riding gear, eager to get back on the road and get moving again, one of the more talkative natives remarked on the height of the bike and said with a quiet laugh, "Too tall for Orientals."
With the start,
Mm.
I realized that those bush-wise young men who had helped me so willingly and knowledgeably were not natives in either sense, but were actually Chinese, probably only a generation or two away from an ancestor who raised millet and spoke Mandarin, or grew rice and spoke Cantonese. Their grandfather might have worn the long braid of the Mongol emperor. Their grandmother might have woven conical hats, conical, yep, to keep off the sun in the paddies. Now these
Paddies,
young
yeah, because
men
it's
had
probably
become
rice
so
paddies.
native that I had actually mistaken them for the first immigrants, those who had been there the longest in the area, probably Cree.
Hmm.
We- mm. These
I remember,
rough and ready individuals looked and acted so wonderfully unstereotypical in their work boots and bush clothes and their muddy pickups with ATVs in the back. Their talk of hunting season and snow machines, and I realized these Canadians absolutely were natives, now in every sense, fully adapted to their environment. For the first time, it was clear to me that when we try to classify others by stereotypes of race, we will we will really mean in culture. The modes the moods of behavior, dress, and habits of the other, and quote, and we find strangers and exotic or sometimes co temper temper
tentable.
temper temperable or cultural patterns developed over hundreds of generations in a specific locale under local influences of weather, livelihood, diet, and daily customs.
Sometimes I had long felt instinctively, without being able to articulate it, could finally be put into words. I saw that it was plain wrong to evaluate people according to race, for it was clear that culture was the real divider among peoples.
True.
Given enough time, a generation or two, we could all become the other, no more different in behavior than our neighbors and peers than they were from each other. Even the cosmic differences would disappear in the course of a few more generations of assimilation, adopting the local diets, mores, and chromosomes, and eventually dissolving into the gene pool. Huh, I like that.
Makes a lot of sense. It's so true.
Yep.
The word race comes from the same Latin root as the French word racin, I
Rice
guess.
or root. Yeah. Which means
Hence the
root.
English word,
Wow.
the English word that I don't know.
Deracinated? Deracinated?
Sure, deracinated. That looks about right.
Racinated.
Deracinated, another term for deracin. Oh, thank you. That helped.
That really cleared it up.
Yeah.
I gotta stop doing that. It knocks me out of.
Oh yeah, don't go back and do that. Look it up.
Yeah, because he kind of went on to
Oh, there it
say
is.
what it meant.
To be to be uprooted, exiled perhaps. Well, exile is better than imprisonment after all, and it seems to me that roots are highly overrated anyway. But racemus is Latin for bunch of grapes. Is this guy rambling? And perhaps those are sour ones.
Right?
I no longer had any roots. I only had the road.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if it might be in that. It's in that Malakal kind of state there. And on
Right,
the
been
current
drinking a little bit
stretch
of
of the
that.
road, and on the current stretch of that road, I had hoped to make it to Dawson Creek, British Columbia, but that was out of the question now. Still, after such a frustrating setback, I was determined to make some distance before the dark, and I rode like a demon, passing trucks, RVs, pickups, and cars.
Behind one long line of traffic, I waited tensely for an opportunity to zip into the oncoming lane. When I noticed the driver in front of me stick his hand up through his open sunroof and rotate his index finger, recognizing the warning of a police car ahead. There's the warning of a police car ahead. I backed off, but it was
Up.
too late. Once again, my
Yeah,
mirrors was filled with flashing red and blue lights, a rural Canadian mounted police car this time, and my adrenaline deflated with a sad little curse as I signaled my turn onto the shoulder of the road. This is the second time he's been pulled over.
I hit the kill switch and stood slumped over the bike, helmeted head hanging down. The Mountie obviously read my body language as he walked up beside me, and with a good-humored note of mock hesitation, he said, "Well, I was going to ask you for your license and registration."
I slowly lifted my helmet off, removed my sunglasses, and turned to look him in the eyes. Just this once, you have got to hear my story. I recounted my 3-hour ordeal back at the Cottonwood gas station and explained that I was trying to make up some time and get to uh, Grande Prairie before dark.
The mustached Mountie was friendly and sympathetic, and this time my Ontario driver's license only elicited a story about how he had once lived in Toronto and had owned a motorcycle, but had given it up, too dangerous. His radar unit had clocked me at a hundred, 140 kilometers per hour in a 100-kilometer zone, which would have been a $174 fine and some serious demerit points. But he gave me a break.
"I've got to give you a ticket, but I'll cut it down considerably." He wrote it up as a generic disobeying a sign infraction for an even $100. Fair enough. And he was nice about it too, advising me that if I took it slow, steady, and safe, I would get to the Grand Prairie just as quickly. I followed his advice, though more out of dispirited resignation and a heightened fear of further encounters with authority than any wish to be slow, steady, and safe.
By 6:30, I had enough and felt a strong desire for a large whiskey and a hot shower, so I pulled into the Horizon Motel in Valley View. I like many of the motels I'd passed on the journey. The parking lot was full of construction pickups carrying laborers for road repair projects. Given the attention to the brutal weather, Canada is said to have two seasons, winter and construction.
Mm.
Dirty work clothes were sprawled over the railings on the upper walkway. Boot and beer cans stood outside the doors, and above my ground floor room there was much stomping around near the designated party room.
If such rowdy groups of men on the loose were common in these backroad motels, solitary women of any age were certainly rare. And as I took a table in the neighboring Chinese restaurant, I noticed a middle-aged woman sitting alone, hunched over a wine glass. Her face was puffy and crushed with lurid makeup, hair a too young shade of red unknown to nature. And I wondered idly if she might be an aging hooker, winding down her career as a camp follower for the construction crews.
Oh my fuck! Oh, Sean's cake face. Go ahead, Doctor. Wow.
No doubt there was a story there, but I soon realized it wouldn't be a happy one, for she was grumbling at length to a red-faced young waiter who had apparently forgotten her order. She seemed to take it as a personal insult and summoned the manager and complained to him indignantly with boozy repetition. He brought her another glass of wine to mollify her and explained that it was the boy's first day on the job, another rookie having a bad day.
Wow. Them rooks. The boy's cheeks were burning when he came to my table, and his voice shook when he asked if I'd like something to drink. The woman's thoughtless cruelty angered me. How had her first day on the job gone? And I tried to be extra nice to the poor boy. I told him what I had happened to me the day and said, "Don't be upset about her." He breathed a sincere thanks, and I felt better, and I hoped he did too.
Back in my room, I flicked through the TV channels looking for the weather and stopped at an old Centara special from the late 60s. Frank was in splendid voice, and his tour de force on Old Man River played on my overwrought emotions and left me feeling weepy because he was so great, and I suppose because he was dead, another ghost. All right, hold on, y'all. I need to see what time it is. It's 10:01. Okay, let's see what we got going here.
We can do about eight
Woo!
more pages, and we got it. We can do eight
Oh
more
man, I don't think I
pages.
can do 8 more pages.
Ain't there about eight more to
Now,
do? Yeah.
there's a little there. What is that little thing? Oh, hold on. I'm
I
not
don't know
on.
what that
uh,
is.
You see it too? It's on
I don't
your
know what that is.
Yeah,
Facebook.
it's on mine.
Yeah, I don't know what that is in between,
It'd be a
unless there
good
was supposed to be
stopping
a picture
point.
there.
Yeah,
Are y'all wanting to?
I was curious if it was the end of the chapter, but it doesn't say that.
No, there's
No, it's
still.
not
Oh
in the
gosh.
gym. We got eight more pages is in the chapter.
Whew. Yeah, that's gonna take a while.
We're on 32. I bet we can do it in
Um,
20 minutes.
I think we could if we all started reading a page a piece instead of paragraphs. What do you think?
Well, I'm not against
Okay.
that. I just can't tell what's a page on mine.
Oh right. Okay. Well, we'll let you know.
We'll start at next. There's a pretty big paragraph for this page, so finish ththose 2 paragraphs up. Because I think you're next at that little symbol that's on the thing where it starts
Sure.
as I was
Okay.
before 6:30 and go
Okay.
to
So
where
you
it
want me to
says
just,
1,000 miles. And that'll be
Okay.
the
okay,
end of
you'll,
that.
all right. Okay. So you want me to read all of that?
I I think it's for me,
Oh, okay.
or
Yeah.
I
Read
don't know.
all of that
Yes,
and then we'll
Doctor's
start
turn.
reading page. We'll take turn reading pages. Okay. Go.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I'll
was
take
away
you to the
before
next page. But
Okay.
I was away before 6 on a cold morning, riding past hay farms, scrub forest, and some bald-looking areas of clear cut. A roadside sign informed me that some of these had been cut to fight against a parasite on the spruce trees and to eliminate the stands of dead wood left behind. Magpies, crows, a coyote, and a fox kept me company as I covered 156 miles before stopping for gas and breakfast in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. The poor violated GS. Um, oh, that's a bike. The poor violated GS backfired a few times when I downshifted, but seemed to be running smoothly again. I noticed my thumb was sore from working the starter button so much trying to get it started the previous day, and that made me worry about the starter itself. I hoped its brushes and windings didn't or hadn't been worn too badly by all the abuse. We were now officially getting out of there for a sign in Dawson Creek announced mile 0 for the Alaska Highway, and there was no BMW dealer until the other end of it in Fairbanks, over 1,000 miles away.
Whoa.
okay, so that was the end of that page 32.
Okay.
So
So we're starting
I'll,
33.
I'll start page 32. The morning remained cold and the light overcast let through just enough glare to require sunglasses. A steady, no, gnat, gnat just went right in my eye. A steady 75 miles per hour was fast enough to cover the miles, though still marginally legal. But I was smooth feeling, bone chilled, even with my heated vest, wired like an electric blanket and plugged into my bike's electrics. The heated grips under my heavy gloves and my plastic rain suit over the leathers. In Fort Nelson, I stopped at the pantry for a bowl of soup and a chance to warm myself. And I wrote in my journal, and this is the way he writes in his journal: the best 2-lane highway you can imagine so far, wide, well paved, lightly traveled. Some nice bits of scenery, but I know the spectacular stuff will just be starting as I head west into the mountains. RV bumper stickers, where are we going, and why are we in this handbasket? Where are we going? Why are we in this the hell in handbasket? Uh, Back beside my motorcycle in the parking lot, I dug out the emergency cell phone and called Sheila. This is Dan's wife, Sheila, and Band's bookkeeper back at the office in Toronto. Sheila had been part of our own family life in past times, for she used to come to our house to update our books every 2 weeks, and on Tuesday evenings, the same night as Celia's flute lessons, when the house would be filled with the rich chords of the teacher's piano accompaniment and Selena's sometimes heart-rending performance. Like her father, she loved to play, but with an impatient, more like her mother, she hated to practice. Sheila had been a dear support friend through all my troubles, and I had taken advantage of the kindness by gradually shifting all my business to her desk and making it my central to message from friends and family. I might have been in solitary travels, feeling completely detached from everything around me, but I was never really alone. Always there were people thinking of me, worrying about me, and looking after the necessary businesses of my abandoned life. When my whole world was pulled out from under me and so complete, I was left feeling so flat and weak and helpless. that I was unable to cope. You want to take over there on that next? Still that paragraph thing over. You want to take over there? Her solitaire on the
Yeah.
next page? No, yep, 34, page 34.
Okay. Did you finish the sentence or?
Yeah, finish the sentence. Well, not necessarily. Well,
Okay.
no, I didn't. So just start with.
With the details of everyday life at all, and had to accept the help that was offered so willingly by family and friends. Once I was able to accept the idea, I was amazed how much they would and could do to help me survive those dark days. John Steinbeck once wrote that sometimes the nicest thing you can do for someone is to allow them to do something for you. And I learned the truth of that insight too. For perhaps the first time in my life, I surrendered my independence and my proud self sufficiency. And once I had opened that window to the warm breeze of compassion, my worldview was utterly transformed. I fell into their open arms. My brother Danny was one of those caregivers, and he sent me a quote from Thoreau. At death, our friends and relatives either draw nearer to us and are found out, or depart farther from us and are forgotten. Nearly everyone close to me had drawn nearer through that time. And one day in the house of mourning, I remember saying to my friend Brad, you know, I used to think life is great, but people suck. But now, oh wow. But now I've had to learn the opposite. Life sucks, but people are great. In my former shallow, perhaps callous worldview, I had enjoyed my life and appreciated my family and friends. But I had often been annoyed by the feeling that everyone else just wanted something from me. But now life, which I had once idolized as a generous deity offering adventure and delight, had betrayed my faith viciously. And in the aftermath, it was people who had held me up and held me together with unstinting care and unimaginable affection. With regard to unimagined affection, I confess that I am one of those people who, in a deep and secret place, can never imagine why anyone would actually like them, respect, maybe, or even appreciate, but not really care for. This psychology or psychosis of neurolysis is not about self esteem or pride, for most people seem to possess sufficient reserves of those qualities or some facsimile thereof. Facsimile. But it is more a sense of one's ineptitude in the social graces and perceived disability in what seem to be the normal social routines of being charming, funny, entertaining, and forthcoming with other people. Okay.
Want to just let Project D start there. That's the
Okay.
last
Yeah.
page, and then I tell him when he's getting close to the end of the other page.
Okay.
This existential discomfort causes more social awkwardness than the contrary self-image, as evinced. Is that a word? I did it. Give me a second. Damn. Oh, there we go. By one friend of mine who is that same deep and secret place. Can't imagine why anyone wouldn't like him. And for those of us who feel deficient in such socially valued qualities, it can also be that the effort of opening ourselves up to another is so difficult, we're willing to at least attempt the operation in close relationships, but not for the casual encounters. That part of me remained the same, it seemed, but I had learned that it could be worthwhile to try to give yourself to others. They had certainly given themselves to me. Even some who had never been that close to me before were moved. And I remembered one former employee of the band who I hadn't seen for years showing up at the house of mourning and tearfully rambling through a speech that basically expressed why many others must have left or felt. And I don't know what to say, but here's my heart. Also, in the spirit of doing others the favor, of letting them help me, I had taken advantage of Sheila's boss and Rush's manager. Ray, by asking him to look after the selling of the family house in Toronto. During my first meeting with the realtor, barely 2 weeks after Jackie's death, I had faced the raw wound of having to tell her why I was selling the house. One of the first times I was forced to tell my sad story in brief, painful words, and after offering a formulaic expression of sympathy, she told me how that might affect a buyer's response to the house. Then went on to argue repeatedly against my objection to holding open house showings when anyone could walk in and take a tour through that haunted house, from serious buyers to the merely curious and the outright ghouls. So I was glad to avoid any more realtor dealings and the constant reawakening of happy family memories from that house. During our cell phone conversations that day, Sheila said, "Ray wants to talk to you. I think he has pretty much got the house sold. That set might mind reeling. Oh, that set my mind reeling. It was what I wanted, of course, but now it seems so final." I tried to
Stop.
call. Okay,
Well, you can go ahead. Well, I was going to say stop at final. There's like 3 lines, and it's going to go to the next page if you want me to continue from there.
no, go ahead.
It's a pretty long
I ch-
paragraph.
yeah, that's why I was saying the next one's going to take about half of the next page, which is all good. Don't mind. I ain't keeping score. You read more pages than me, motherfucker. Ain't fair. Fighting over pages before this book's over. Man. I tried to call Ray, but couldn't reach him. So I suited up and got back on the Alaskan highway, thinking about all those things as I rode west. The road narrowing as it twisted through the Comfort Forest and into the northern reaches of the Rockies. That day remained cold under looming clouds, and sometimes the road was shiny with rain, so the mountains were sensed more often or were seen more often than seen, or sensed more often than seen. When they did appear, they were bare of trees. For this latitude, the tree line was very near at the 4,000-foot elevation of Summit Lake, and the trees seemed to end right at the roadside. After days of riding across the horizontal plane of the prairies, my journey described this three-dimensional scenery as mon- monumental and glorious. And after all those straight roads, I described the riding as way more interesting. This lane is the season, August 25th. The traffic was light, and most of the gigantic RVs traveling in the often directions away from Alaska. Rounding one thickly forest behind the road, I was startled to see a small herd of caribou browsing on the roadside, and I slowed enough to look at them but not scare them off. I was still responding to the landscapes, highways, and wildlife, creating the word as I rode. I was even starting to respond to people it seemed even strangers. Apparently, I could even care about them like the kid at the gas station, the
Hmm.
Oriental natives, and hapless waiter, the fool I used to be. The empathy had been a rare feeling for me lately, as
Wow.
all my emotions were bound up in one uh,
Paradigm.
polygram loss. And my attitude towards strangers tended more towards bitterness and envy, and could be summed up by the angry accusations of why are they alive and not them, of course. Now it seemed it was being to include strangers in my brave new world, and maybe as I traveled down the healing road, I would start to like them again, too. Anything was possible. However desperate these occasional moments of truth and beauty I was finding on the road, I often felt lost and alone. And each day I was attacked by the spell of dark, weeping disisolation. So it was that cold, wet day on the Alaska Highway after 622 miles. I was glad to arrive at the Northern Rockies Lodge on the shore of Macho Lake.
Mancho?
Macho. Macho Man. Macho Lake. Billed as the largest log structure in British Columbia with a 45-foot high, wow, central dining room. It had been built only 2 years previously in 1996, just before my friend Brutus, Brutus didn't burn the place down. Brutus and I happened to make a brief stop there on our motorcycling trip to Yellowknife. Back then, I had thought I'm gonna finish this paragraph and you start this page.
Do it.
Then I thought it would be a great place to stay on an outpost of civilization on a pretty little lake cradled among tall trees and rugged gray peaks. And when I set out to that morning, I remembered it, and I hope to make it that far.
Okay. So I really like the part where he was talking about people and how he didn't really like people. It reminds me of one of his songs actually, where they say, I believe the song is Limelight. It's off of the Moving Pictures album,
Uh-huh.
and it's one of the lyrics in there is, I can't pretend that a stranger is a long awaited friend.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
The gravel parking lot in front was lined with cars and sport utility vehicles bearing license plates from South Dakota, New York, Washington, Colorado, Texas, Utah, Florida, and Alaska. I can pronounce all those.
Yeah.
Between the lodge and the lake, uh, okay, between the lodge and the lake, a few tiny weathered log cabins, maybe 12 feet square and 10 feet high, remained from a previous enterprise, and there were offered to pariah smokers like me. Fabulous, I wrote in my journal, and began to think seriously of staying another day. I had been afraid to consider staying in one place longer than a night, not wanting to give myself time to think too much. But in the 6 days since leaving the house on the lake, I had covered 3,000 miles. And apart from giving myself a rest at another house on a lake, there were practicalities to consider. I carried only 6 changes of socks, underwear, and t shirts. The Northern Rockies Lodge offered guest laundry facilities. There were small motorboats for rent, hiking possibilities, and my little log cabin made an inviting sanctuary to hide away with a measure of the whiskey and a book. Still uncertain about the wisdom of this notion, I left the decision to the morning, which was a cold 48 degrees and threatened rain. Not the kind of day that invited travel, so I made up my mind to try staying. Walking up to the lodge for breakfast, I stopped at the deck to book another night. The Northern Rockies Lodge was owned by a Swiss pilot named Urs and his wife Marina, Marianne, both apparently in their late 40s, and photographs on display indicating that Urs had flown for the oil company AGIP in Libya. Perhaps he had earned enough money there to buy this remote property, build the new lodge, and purchase the 2 float planes of Lillard Air that were tied up at the dock, available for charter to sightseers and sportsmen.
Is that
With
me?
my laundry washed and dried and rode away, I asked Marianne about a place to hike, and she directed me across the highway to what she called the wash. The morning was still cold and overcast, but I soon warmed by the effort of climbing over the tumbled rocks, stones, and gravel at the bottom of a narrow canyon. Like a glacier moraine, um, or scree, where the snow melt obviously came pouring down in spring. The lower part had been bulldozed into levees to channel the flow, and I scrambled over them up into larger boulders, following the banks of a small stream up into the ragged forest.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Project. There you go, a little birds. And we got this page, and I'll tell you when to stop. And then there's a little bit of
What you
another
call me?
page. The last page is real short. Project D.
A little bird called a dipper or water ouzel, sure, retreated ahead of me upstream, easily identifiable by its habit of ducking under the water or dipping to hunt its food of insects or small crustaceans. Seeing a new species like that was always a mild thrill for a long-time bird lover. And later that afternoon, when I rented a small motorboat to tour the lake, I saw a bald eagle soaring against the dark forest. And another first sighting, an Arctic loon, sleeker and lighter colored than the common loons that lived in the lakes at home. There were also slender, I don't even know, mergansers
Mergansers?
fishing on the lake, and a large flock of small puffin-like ducks which flew off before I was close enough to identify them. A brief rain shower during my boat ride made me grateful for my waterproof jacket and hat. But the clouds finally passed off to the east, leaving a rainbow and bright washes of sunlight on the barren gray peaks above the forest. When I got back to the lodge, I said to Marianne at the front desk, "A place like this is supposed to be relaxing, but I'm exhausted. So much to do." Exhausted I may have been, but I was so relaxed. My first day staying in one place had turned out pretty well. As always, the main thing was to keep moving, keep active, take the little baby soul for a ride. It just took will, and I knew I was always just barely hanging on to that necessary resolve. I was still overcome by tears and abject sorrow several times a day, but I tried to let those spells pass and to avoid the hopeless tailspins of spiraling down into an abyss of memories. Those memories were always with me, of course, and it seemed that part of what Freud called grief work involved calling up and processing every memory I had of the lost ones. Every shared laugh and every harsh word had to be recalled and assigned anew. Final judgment, something I could eventually feel good about, maybe, or something I would have to keep replaying in my mind, like my mental video loop of Selena's accident or the memory of Jackie's last breath, until I could lay it to rest in a peaceful garden of memory. For some reason, as part of the grief work, it also seemed necessary for me to replay every single incident of my own life. And once when I was awake in the middle of the night in a motel, stewing over these things, I tried to write it down.
Okay, now we're back to the journal entry, which is on another page. I don't know if somebody wants to get that, but we get that journal entry in about 2 more paragraphs. We got it whooped. The last page 40 is real short. It ain't even a whole
Great.
page. So who wants to? You want to do that journal entry?
Notice in these watches of the night or while riding or any time pattern of torment, Spanish for storm,
Oh,
not only have to relieve and examine every episode of my life of Jackie and Selena, but every single episode of my life. Every embarrassment, act of foolishness, wrong-headedness, error, idiocy, etc. Going back to childhood and all the way forward to now. Oh, it goes on. That's the next page for me. I physically flinch, say ow out loud, or fuck, as the case may be, and can hardly bear it. Such stupid things sometimes, but it seems my confidence or belief in myself or something is so shaken, so undermined, so tenuous that I have no tolerance, no understanding or forgiveness for myself or anyone else. No forgiveness.
wow.
It took 40 pages to get a cuss word in.
Right. All right, you want to finish up the chapter, Slim?
You want to go right through there? You can take the rest of it, Solitaire. There's a little bit of this
All right.
page and about half the other page, and we did it.
Wow, nice. Okay. Without knowing it, I had identified the subtle but important part of the healing process. There would be no peace for me, no life for me, until I learned to forgive life for what it had done to me, forgive others for still being alive, and eventually forgive myself for being alive. With such currents in the existential sea to swim through. A day spent in motion helped keep me afloat, forcing me to be moderately curious about my surroundings and to concentrate on what I was doing, especially when I was riding the motorcycle and dealing with the balancing act, literally and figuratively, of its operation, the road, the weather, other traffic, the background of inspiring scenery, and the occasional glimpses of birds and animals. That's a hell of a sentence.
Right.
Landscapes, highways, and wildlife, my new holy trinity. Okay. Landscapes, highways, and wildlife, my new holy trinity. From those simple elements, it did seem I was finding enough to get moderately excited about. And each of those moments of truth and beauty was an important baby step along the healing road, and other strands to weave into the day's fabric of grief and despair. Just as when I was alone at the house on the lake, I never felt consciously lonely, for I had always enjoyed my own company, and reading had always served as a diversion, escape, and solace for me. I did notice that I was doing a lot of journal writing, which made for a kind companion during solitary meals, and I had only been uncharacteristically active on the telephone, calling two or three friends or family members every day, and that was very unlike me, or at least it was very unlike the fool I used to be. Mr. Gregarious, I laughed at myself in my journal. Probably good for me, though. I do find I'm talking to myself fairly often, which makes me crazy. Crazy old coot. But that's okay. Just watch it. And then to wrap up the chapter with this quote: Fortune is random. Fate shoots from the hip. I know you get crazy, but try not to lose your grip. Neurotica, 1991. All right.
All right.
So we made it to chapter 3, and chapter 3 will be, I'll just give it a little, it's north to, what's that, it's another
Inuvik.
town now. It's
Inuvik. I'm thinking that's the Innu natives there.
okay, Inuvik. And then the point of the journey is not to arrive. Anything can happen. Prime mover, 1987. Yeah,
I
y'all
like
did.
that.
It was good. We did that. That was a pretty long chapter, plus half of the other one.
I feel
Just
like we went much faster when we all took a page.
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought
Well,
about it. We can kind of work on how we do it on the chapters, but
yeah, I was gonna say we're also just getting a little more,
yeah,
I
okay.
guess, used to it, or
Yeah, I was getting the
Yeah.
butterfly. I felt like I was maybe I was supposed to pretend I was standing in front of an audience in my underwear or something. I don't know. I was fucking a little bit nervous to even start reading. Yeah, but yeah, like I said the other night when Cranky and Project was on, and Solitaire is like, "Well, I'm tired of talking about it. Let's do it." And I was about fucking 10 beers, 8 beers in by then. I was like, "Hell yeah, let's eat this
Well,
motherfucker!"
I didn't mean let's do it right then though. I meant let's at least like set up a time, you know.
We
But you
do
was
better
like, let's
things.
do it now.
But
yeah, we
no, it's
did.
good. Let me see. I came on at 9. We didn't. Me, Solitaire, and Cranky probably talked for a good half hour or better before we even started.
I don't know. I feel like we got started like
I
right
don't think
away,
it.
maybe 10 minutes.
I
No,
don't
no, it
think
was
it was that long. I'd say 20 tops.
yeah, it was about 20
Yeah,
minutes.
Tops.
I was looking at time. It was getting
right,
close to 30 before we started, but we did good.
right.
So about 2 hours to do. I mean, we stopped here and there in between, so we didn't like. But yeah, that ain't so bad. See what was that was a pretty long chapter too. That was what 20 some pages. The second one plus we did half of the first one.
Yeah.
So chapter 3 is going to go from page 41 to 63. So that's about the
Okay.
same size as chapter 2 was.
22 pages.
Yeah, and then chapter after
Yeah,
that.
we tell the story the best, when we're in the middle of a sentence and go, I don't know what the fuck that is. Whatever that
Right.
means.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't want the Audible book. I want to tell this man. I want to tell it,
Right.
not the
Right.
book.
But
My
you know
favorite
what?
part,
When you're not following along, it's hard to tell when you derive or go off from script. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, we
I'm
did.
not
right,
knowing, and it's like it's not making sense. I'm like, oh, that's their thought. Okay,
right. When we give our own commentary, you're probably like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But at the time, I'm not realizing. I'm going, this isn't making sense. Wait, what's going on? All right, I got it.
Yeah. Well, you'll
That's
have your.
funny. DARPA at one point says, "Is he rambling?"
Yeah, that was my own, because he was just going. I don't even remember what the hell it was.
Yeah, no, but it was a rambling conversation. That was
Yeah,
what
it was.
in the book, just like that. But it sounded like I think he was in that damn whiskey.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
So
favorite part of both chapters is where he said, "Sometimes to help other people, you've got to let them help you."
That's true.
Because like when people are going through really bad things, you want to do something, but the person going through it, they want to feel independent. But sometimes the best way to help other people is just to let them help you. That's hard for me. Like it's personally hard for me to let people help me. So I really took a lot from that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
I liked it. I liked when he was at the motorcycle place when they put the diesel in, but it didn't kind of did help him. But I knew exactly what he was going to say when all the people pulled up because I do that. I hate that. Sometimes me and Boots got friends of ours. If we're working on a car, certain people will come up, drop every fucking tool you got, walk away from the fucking car because they will. Oh, did you check the? Did you do this that? And I was like, dude, step away from the damn vehicle.
We know what we're doing.
But I
Well,
thought
that's
that's
kind
something.
of like what was happening to you when you was remember when you was trying to get the fuel to go from the fuel pump to the tank?
Yeah.
Like people were in the chats like, do this, do that,
Yeah,
try
that's how it
this.
always is.
Oh yeah, I was seeing it. Trot was in there. Put the fuel tank. Did you check this? Did you check that? I was like,
But sometimes to help others, you got to let them help you.
yes, exactly right. Just let them do it. Oh, 1 second. Holy fuck! I dropped my shit. I had to turn this fucking porch light off. There's like 4 million damn bugs on my damn storm door.
So you'll have the book on Thursday, Cranky?
Yeah, that's my Amazon Prime. It's not next day, it's in a couple of days.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have far, I'm like off the beaten path.
I know that's weird because it took. I ordered one book when I sent Solitaire. I ordered it on a Sunday night on Prime, like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, and the bitch was there Monday afternoon.
Yeah,
And then
That's crazy.
I ordered mine. It took 4 days. What the fuck?
It
yeah.
depends on
Are
how
Well,
you in
close
the
you are.
prime?
Yeah.
that's
Huh.
country living for you.
I don't know why
I
the
live
first it's quick, but
I live right next to what do they call them? A fulfillment center.
Oh,
oh, okay.
jeez.
Okay,
Oh
Carl.
man, you can definitely get it next day, prime or not.
Or same day sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Cranky, you'll have yours next week.
Thursday.
Or
This
about
Thursday.
Everybody say about
Yeah, I'll
next
have
week.
it for
By the time
next
we
week.
read,
Yes.
tell you where we're at. We're on chapter 3. That way you can keep
And
up
you know
read.
it's going to be fun? I'm going to be able to participate when I'm on vacation.
Yeah, cool. You're gonna read some too, right?
Are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You're going to your son's in Washington.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to be up there for a couple of weeks, but I'm staying at a hotel.
Okay.
So there with my doggy. So in the evening, yeah, it'd just be me and my dog. So um, I'll be reading.
Great. So we kind of wanted to talk to everybody. Does the 8 o'clock time work for everyone?
That's fine for me. That's fine. I'm retired, so I'm
Yeah, because
extremely
I was wanting to
flexible.
kind of, I was kind of wanting to go earlier because see, I was wanting to be off of here by like 9:30. But if
Right.
if too
Her
early,
time.
like if it's too
Time was just 10:30 my time about an hour ago.
right, right, because I'm on Central Time.
In
So
Central, so
so
you're two ahead of me. So yeah,
right. So if we were to go 7 my time, that would be 8
Be 8.
DARPA and Slim's time and five
and
6
five,
your
my
time.
no 5.
5.
5.
Oh, right. So, yeah, 5.
Two behind you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can definitely tell you that I won't be here around that time.
That's way too early for you. Okay.
Way too early for me. Sorry.
Well, we'll just keep it at 8 then.
Okay, 8, 9,
So
9 my time.
that would be nine your guys'
Come
time.
in. Darth will come in probably a little bit late on that one, but that'd be right.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be times where I'm late or I just can't make it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
All right.
but I respect there. But yeah, but I don't want to do it so early that you won't even be, even if you can't even come, participate at all, even if it's, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
But that's the
time.
one positive take from having the actual book or the ebook is if you're not able to make it, you could do it during the week and so you don't fall behind.
Yeah, we can read. Well, Dopper was already in the chapter 2 before we started tonight, so he was already ahead of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all at the same spot now, but yeah, he can. And some of that shit
Well, and
probably don't.
we were kind of in the middle of chapter 1, so we finished chapter 1 and then finished chapter 2. So next time we'll start new on chapter 3, and then I can like see what time it is, but when we end chapter 3,
Yeah, because we
and if
started
and if
on. We was on page
so,
8. We went 40. So how many pages? So we did 32 pages, give or take.
okay,
That's a lot of pages. Yeah.
in about 2 hours.
Yeah, give or take.
So if we just keep it like at a chapter, then I'll probably be able to get out of here in time. And then if y'all wanted to continue after I left, that would be okay too. I could just do some reading on my own so I don't get behind.
Well,
Yeah, I have no doubt that that's gonna happen time to time
Yeah.
for any of us.
Okay. All right. That sounds
I,
good. Yeah, it
I
was fun.
think we're pretty flexible, and Paul says, job well done.
Thanks,
right.
Paul.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I didn't know if y'all seen
Oh,
which is
okay.
good. What did Junior
Imbu,
say? Yeah,
inspire
Junior
or
said y'all
permeate with a feeling or quality.
doing great. He said y'all are doing great. We need to get the word out, Slim, so y'all have more folks next time. This is a good book and could attract different people for different reasons. Yes. She also said all of y'all did great. I'm sorry, but Senior Doggy is often a challenge at night, and it takes precedence over YouTube. I'll look for the next installment. Peace out, all. Okay, cool. What's up? What up? What
What's
up?
up?
What up?
What up?
You
What
missed-
up? What up? What the fuck is up?
We'll read the story of Sasquatch next.
No
Oh,
one put
that'd be
diesel on
cool
my
to
bike.
read. I'm sorry, Darpa.
No, I was just saying, no one put diesel on my bike on this trip.
I
Yeah,
just
right.
sat on mine. I didn't go anywhere.
I'm gonna find me
I'm
a
not
damn.
even sitting. Am I sitting? I can't tell.
I'm gonna have me a motorcycle emoji when I come back by. I'm
No, looks like you're you're leaning. No, you're sitting on it.
I
Yeah, you're
kind of
sitting on it.
straddle a little bit.
Yeah.
One leg hanging over.
it's like she's kind of sitting on it, but her legs are on one side of it. She ain't like straddling it. I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm
So,
posing. AI.
yep. But yeah, yep, good. And what time is? I'll probably do. And this is another thing. I'm probably going to depend on when we do and when we stop, which I'm going to do
The
here just in a
woodchuck's
few
here.
minutes. Yep, that's good. What's up, Woodchuck? What you doing? Were you listening in on the book club?
We're reading the Ghost Rider by Neil Peart. Um,
He has a vocabulary.
doesn't
Yeah.
he though? Jeez.
My damn mind going. Working overtime. Shit. Uh, good. Getting better. It's getting better as I went. It seemed like
It's
that
not
was my reading.
too bad. There's some books where I just gave up on because I'm like, the vocabulary in this book is just ridiculous. I got to every sentence get the dictionary out to understand the book.
Oh, wait on.
Well, they
My
say
internet.
if you don't understand a word, then you're going to lose
My
a lot of what you're reading. That one word could make a big difference.
Right. Yeah. Now, us for like as far as some of the towns and stuff, I guess that don't make a whole lot of difference. You can call
Nah.
it whatever the fuck you want to
Nah.
call it, or that one drink, call that whiskey. We can get, you know what I mean? Stuff
Yeah.
like that. There's certain word that might really could make a difference. You're right.
I think it's
yeah.
just McCullen.
Chuck said just dropped in. Never been into reading. Well, you should come back next time because we'll read to you. Yeah, I thought
I
about
was
doing.
going to say I've not been into listening.
Yeah, somebody said do the audio book too. I thought about doing that, but I don't know. I could have played. I kind of just like trying to read it instead of just sit here and listen to it.
Yeah, I
I
like
think
reading
it's
it.
a good
I like that.
it's a good exercise, a mental exercise
That's
to
what
actually
that
read
was
it.
my whole purpose. I thought too, because we still
Yeah.
I mean, we're still kind of in our devices, but we got out of our device a little bit. You know what I mean?
We're kind of
Yeah.
dumbed down in a sense, for lack
Yeah.
of better words.
Took me a while just to figure out how to flip the damn page.
That's funny.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. I got a
All
long
right,
work day tomorrow.
Solitaire. Take
Anyway,
care.
Solitaire, before you go,
I
Solitaire,
will probably see everybody
Friday. Before you go, what I was trying to say though, before you go, which you're going out anyway, so tell everybody else. After I probably do this, I didn't do no kind of whatever reading in all it. Yeah, reading from mental bobo. I didn't do no music and all that crazy bullshit. I am gonna, when Solitaire drops out, I am gonna end this, and I'm gonna start a damn after hours up because I don't want to diss. I want to
Oh,
keep
you
this.
don't want to mix it up. Yes.
Yeah, I don't want this. And if I go after hours and get all kind of copyright claims, I mean, hell, man, motherfuckers might. I want to leave this just like it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can make a playlist, the book playlist.
What do you mean?
Oh, good idea.
So on YouTube, you
So you're
can
going
make
to end.
like
So you're going to end
series.
your live and start another one.
Yes, but go ahead. What are you saying, Product Dude, about the playlist?
You can create playlists on YouTube that have a specific list of videos or series, so you can make a playlist that are just when we're doing the book night.
Oh, I got you. I think about it.
It'll just be a playlist of just Tuesday night book night videos.
Yeah, just Ghost Rider.
Right. Ghost Rider, chapter 1 and 2.
I got you. Something to that
Okay.
effect.
All right. Bye, everybody. Y'all have
Bye.
a good
Take
week.
care.
I will probably see all y'all on Friday night. Fucking copyright.
All righty.
All right.
All right,
Peace.
see
Take
you,
care.
Salter.
All right. But peace. Anybody that's in the chats, I don't know what y'all doing, but I am gonna end this one and
All
just
right.
start
Let's end it.
another one because I might fucking get crazy. You never know what I'm gonna do. What's up, Paul? Y'all meet me back here in just a few. Get out of here. All right, man. You gonna come back up for a second or on chats or whatever? But yeah, it won't take me about 2 minutes. I'll have another one up and running real shortly.
Yeah, I'll be back for a little bit.
All right, peace. All right, everybody else in the chats, y'all roll up after hours.